Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host, Evan Teague. With my co-host, the man who is also a big fan of justice, Noah Bailey. Noah, what are we doing today?
Oh, I believe today's the day.
Today is the day that neither of us thought would ever come,
No,
but it's here.
here
We
we
are
are.
officially reviewing Zack Snyder's Justice League.
You gotta be sure you put that Zack Snyder in there first.
It's not the Snyder cut of Justice League. It's not just Justice League 2021. It is Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's name is bigger than the title itself on the poster. It's like, okay, calm down.
I wonder why.
So, just very, very general thoughts first. I think just give your very, very general overall thoughts about it first. Like,
Well,
yeah.
first thing I said was it's too long, and I'm not saying like. I know I generally have a cap for movie lengths in general, and even some movies like Lord of the Rings. Sometimes I'm kind of like, really, like, do we have to? And not that saying anything like Lord of the Rings is bad. Lord of the Rings is great,
Yeah.
but
They need to be 4 hours.
yeah, but you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
really a four. This movie did not need to be 4 hours. Now, I'm not saying that everything added in this movie was completely unnecessary, but like a lot of things that we spent time on, I was kind of like, okay, so there's 20 minutes.
Yes.
All right, so there's 15 minutes. Okay, didn't need any of that. Wow, that scene made me.
Yep.
Yeah.
The opening of this movie is over 2 minutes of just watching Batman just walk in the snow.
Yeah.
2 minutes of just watching Batman walk over credits. Like,
yeah.
It's one thing to have it, that can be effective. Like in The Shining starts with them just driving for like 5 minutes just while the credits rolling, and like the music and this way it's shot just makes that have a very eerie and kind of sets the tone for the movie. Whereas Batman just walking in the snow didn't really seem to add anything. It just really felt like Zack Snyder shot a bunch of different, different establishing shots of what Batman was doing and just decided to use all of them. It wasn't necessary. And that's kind of a through line for the entire movie. Like almost, there are so many establishing shots that aren't necessary. So many, like, just so many scenes that take just a little bit too long. It's just kind of weirdly paced in a way that I felt if it was like structured in a different way, it at least wouldn't feel as long. Not to mention the fact that you want to guess how much of this movie is slow-mo?
Oh my god! No, hold on. What did I write? I wrote it was something like why all the slow, especially at the beginning.
Yes.
Like that whole Amazon sequence, half of that was slow-mo, and it was like movies. It's like Daredevil slow-mo, not like Matrix slow-mo. Like it was like, why are we slowing this down?
Yeah.
Like, that's not really that impressive, regardless.
Literally 10% of this movie, 24 minutes of your runtime is slow-mo. That's a bit much. Slow motion can be effective if you want to emphasize certain things, but like, why did we need to see when Batman shot that building with his tank, like the bullet fell in slow motion? That's not why.
I didn't understand that.
Stuff like that isn't necessary. Especially, I think I felt it the most when Flash was using his powers. We'll get to more about Flash specifically in a second, but I thought it's weird that whenever, almost every single time Flash was using his speed, he was also moving in slow-mo. Even though I thought the point was like, the best scene of X-Men Apocalypse when Peter is using his speed, like the world is slow around him and he's like walking at normal pace or moving fast around. That makes sense. But in Flash's introduction scene, the world is moving slow and he is also not moving as slow as everything else, but it just, you don't really get the sense of his speed. It really just feels like he has the power to slow down time, which is not really what he does.
it's interesting because like he is obviously moving faster than everything else, but yeah, because he's also kind of moving in slow motion, it's kind of like, is this just like a slow scene? Like what? Like an
Yeah,
example, like not to jump ahead, but like especially with like him like moving around and touching things, and then like things reacting to him being touched at the same speed. Like for example,
yeah.
like with the sword thing with Wonder Woman.
Mm.
How does she grab it at the same speed he pushed it if she doesn't have super speed? That made like that did not add up.
Like she's a little fast, but not that fast. So like,
No, like she's
yeah.
not like she's still falling like like a half an inch or every couple seconds. Like she's
Mm,
not conscious of how slow, like of how fast this is going. And then he
yeah.
like pushes it into her hand, and her hand, it doesn't like it's not like it like falls into her hand. She wraps her hand and catches it
Hmm.
fully, like with timing. And I'm like, there's no way you did that. And it's not like the sword like just like keyblades into her hand either. Like it's a catch. Like
Yeah. Not to mention that scene was kind of pointless because she could have just lassoed it, but it's
that's
fine.
okay. That's okay.
That so that's again, it's something that we'll get in, I'm sure we'll get into a lot more later, but that's just kind of something that is a problem with Zack Snyder movies, period, and especially in this movie. He has a really bad habit of like, I think when he goes into making a movie, he has this idea of like, here are 5 or 6 sequences I want to take place in this movie. And then he doesn't really care about why they happen or an easier way for this to look or like how it messes with the plot or structure of the movie. He's just like, okay, it would be really cool if we had the scene where Flash, ran around and hit the sword back to her, but like could she not just lasso the sword back to her or like or and there's going to be a lot more later I'll touch on later, but there are so many times in this movie when there is a kind of cool sequence or something that theoretically could be cool, but I thought because of the way it was just kind of put in there, it it just felt either out of place or felt incongruous with what was actually happening, or the stuff leading up to it felt forced. But yeah, we'll get more into that later. But that's just something I kind of felt how happened a lot throughout this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so where do I want to go next? Is there anything like specifically you want to talk about next?
I mean, maybe we just start at the beginning and just kind of go with it. I mean, I don't know because I did have something about kind of the beginning. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
especially okay, so the whole like Aquaman thing at the beginning, like the
Yes.
whole Bruce Wayne showing up and the random
Mm-hmm.
village, he's talking to the guy, but the guy's interpreting, but he's talking about him. Like, we all know what's going on here. It's kind of
Yes.
whatever. Oh no, no talking to fish jokes. Okay, that's nice.
Sure.
But also like
I do like Batman speaking that language back at them.
yes,
That's something very
that's a
Batman
very
was
yes,
very missing from Joss Whedon's one, so that was good.
yes, yes. That was a very Batman thing to do. It's like Batman doesn't just, what the shit, like this is that. Now I will say this,
Mhm.
and this is kind of has to go with this and the Flash thing. And I text my brother this, and I'm like, so why does he just show up as Bruce Wayne? Why doesn't he just show up as Batman? Like he just basically told everybody in
Mhm.
this room,
Yep.
by the way, I'm Batman, pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
and I, especially without even knowing. I mean, I assume he knew that was Arthur, but like he didn't really know anyone else. I assume, but like, and he kind of just like is casual about it. He tells him immediately, "I'm Batman," and like, and the Flash thing too. He kind of just he could have just shown like, especially with like Barry, he could have just shown up as Batman.
Mhm.
Everything would have been exactly
Yes. For some reason, Barry, I kind of understand a little more, but Aquaman, yeah, I feel it would have. Uh, I hadn't thought about that at all before just now, but yeah, that.
no, but like it's something me and my
Yeah.
brother kind of both were thinking. He's like, so why did he just? Because like, it was so weird. He was just like I mean, and like having Jason Momoa just be like, "Oh, so you're the Batman?" We're just talking like
Dressed
casually.
as a bat. You're out of your mind, Bruce Wayne. Like,
Yes, like announces it. And granted, they're in the middle of who knows where, but like
Iceland, maybe.
still,
Yeah.
that's not the point. Like this is supposed to be your big secret idea. It's a huge thing,
Yep.
like, are we just gonna pretend like no one cares? Like, and it kind of felt kind of like not that like I don't not to open the door for comparison, but like it kind of felt almost kind of like an Iron Man thing because it's like Iron
Yeah.
Man doesn't care. Like he's like whatever, come get me if you want, but
Mhm.
that is not how Batman operates at all.
If
So
they
it
had
kind of feels
established in this world that Batman just goes around like Bruce Wayne doesn't really care about his secret identity, that'd be one thing. But that would be a gross misrepresentation of the comics origin. But it's fine. He already kills people, so it's not like it wouldn't be too out of a question. This Batman's different. So, or maybe he thought that the people wouldn't. Maybe he didn't think that the other people would understand what he's saying in English, so he didn't think it would matter, even though he knew that that's oh my gosh, that's a problem I have again with this entire movie. There are some positives, but I think a major problem throughout the entire movie is that there are certain things that could problems I have that could be explained away, but almost every single major issue asks the audience to do a lot of heavy lifting. Like, why does Bruce Wayne just go announcing himself as Batman to Aquaman? Oh, it's because the people of the village wouldn't be able to understand. But that the movie doesn't tell us that. The movie
and you
doesn't.
wouldn't know
Yeah.
that, and that's assuming a lot. Like yeah, like you said, that's a lot of me interpreting that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, if I interpret that, and then it's like, oh, well, you're just not intellectual to understand. It's like, well, that's not really. It's not the. I mean, it's the movie's job to explain. And I'm not saying there aren't things you should pick up on, but it's like, that's not really how that works. That's just
Yeah.
fortuitous. That's just not explaining it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
Yeah.
oh, and what like as soon as those village people started singing,
Oh my god.
I knew it would be one of those kind of movies. Like
It was weird because like they just start like, and it was a while. Like it wasn't
Mhm.
like a 5 seconds and we think like they were singing and it was like weird close-ups on that one lady's like hair and her hair and like,
Yeah.
and I was just kind of like, is this person important? Is this like,
No,
am
she
I
never
missing
comes
something? Like
back.
I was so lost. I was like, why are we so focused on this like kind of creepy singing?
Yeah. And then later when like in like the very next scene when Lois is, staring at the destroyed statue of Superman, it's it's I think it's playing those lyrics in English, I think, but why not just have subtitles and cut out the middleman? Like I don't know. Like, it it was a very weird scene. And
Yeah.
at this point, I think because we already talked a lot about Aquaman, I think I can go ahead and
Yeah.
well, I want to go ahead and just talk about Aquaman's character
Yeah.
because I think his character, I think, had the most opportunity to be. He had the biggest opportunity to be the most interesting character in the movie, but he just kind of didn't have a character. Like
It
in
was
the 2017 Justice League movie, and I'll have an entire segment later on about like comparing them directly. So I'll try not to do that as much throughout the main review, but at least in the 2017 one, we we delved more into him not trusting people, him not wanting to be a team player, him just like not like complaining the whole time, but kind of just being a loose cannon. Yeah, like but that's still necessary to be a part of the team. Here, we don't really get a reason why. We don't even really get a good reason why he joins the team in the first place. In the original, for example, when he saves that guy off the boat and brings him into that bar, Aquaman sees the parademon goo on his hand and then feels that something's wrong, and then he goes to Atlantis. Whereas in this movie, he gets that guy off the boat, brings him in, just says, you know, he got lost in the ocean, you know, he'll walk it off or whatever. And then one of my least favorite scenes of this movie, he like in the, I'll say Justice League, yeah, in Justice League, he when he's walking down that pier drinking that beer and litters, because apparently Aquaman likes to litter in this movie, like he did like 3 different times. It's playing like an 80s rock song over it, which I thought fit that character's aesthetic a lot more. But in this one, it's even slower motion, and it's playing like an alt rock, like Hallelujah style, like choir song. It's just it didn't feel, that scene didn't show us anything. It shows that he saved that guy, and then he just kind of slow walked into the ocean for no reason. I don't know. And then he talks to he then, you know, talks to Willem Dafoe's character, and then an hour goes by, and then he's helping Mara in Atlantis.
Yeah.
We don't see him like we don't see him find out that Atlantis is in trouble, which I felt something the 2017 one kind of fixed by having the parademons attack that guy, but they just didn't do that in this movie. He just goes. We're just supposed to accept that he somehow realized Atlantis was in trouble, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Which can I talk about Atlantis for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I know we're only like Mara's only in it for like 5 minutes, I think, but I thought it was hilarious that every time they had to talk, we had to just make these magic bubbles.
Oh my goodness!
Every time, because we just can't talk underwater for some reason.
They can't for some reason. There was a scene where she was talking to like some guards. They were like clicking at each, like how dolphins talk. They're like clicking at each other, and I'm like, these people live underwater, and they can't just talk normally to each other. They can't even like. They have to like click. Why? That is so. That's so weird, and I'm so glad they didn't keep that in the Aquaman movie. And then just talking underwater just made more sense. Yeah, especially when Mara was being attacked by Steppenwolf, she had to make a bubble just to talk to him.
Yes,
so
like we stopped fighting. Go, you know, your boys just got killed. We stopped fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So we could stop and talk about why you're the bad guy. And I was like, what? No, what is we don't even need dialogue between you people. Like, what is going on here? Like, I thought that was like, because it was like 4 different times. It was 3 or 4 different times. They just stopped, made this big speech. It's like, how can does everyone who lives in Atlantis do that? Because like William Dafoe did it when he first saw Arthur. And all that. It's kind of like, so can we just not talk underwater without these like giant air bubbles? I guess whatever they are.
And
like
the problem is, the only reason they're talking in the bubble is for us to understand them. So why not just have them talk normally without the bubble? Because like everyone in the room, like Mara and Aquaman and Willem Dafoe, etc., they can all communicate with the clicking or whatever. So
or just have them talk and just say people that live underwater can just talk.
Yeah,
like
they don't need the bubble. That's for our enjoyment.
That's what, like I understand a human like cannot talk underwater, but they're freaking Atlanteans.
Yeah.
Like they can make it work. Like you don't have to explain it. Like you can just be like magical BS. Like it doesn't.
I would even be able to accept. Oh yeah, Steppenwolf lives in space. Why not be able to live underwater? Like sure, like he could just talk underwater. Why not? Like sure, he doesn't need to breathe air. Like sure.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Like who cares? Like he's from Apocalypse. They're literally Atlanteans. Why can't they just talk underwater? And also, you don't even need to talk to Steppenwolf at all.
No.
All he's there for. First of all, the fact that he made a big scene, like showing up and killing everybody, was complete. All he had to do was jump in, kill one guard, take the thing, pour it out. He had to stop, go out of his way to kill the guards and fight Mara, and then stop attacking Mara, then going again to finish her off, even though she was basically done anyway. And then was like, oh, let me hurry up and get the cube. It's like, you could have been done with this 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, if
this was an in and out. This was in and out. This was like, this is not.
like
have to be me making a scene in front of 3 random goons. Like,
I get that Zack Snyder wanted another cool action scene. And this is another instance, like I said earlier, he had this cool idea for an underwater action scene. He wanted to showcase Mara's powers, which are fine. But yeah, Steppenwolf's main objective going into that was get the cube, get out. I know where the cube is. Like, I see one guard, kill him, slap Mara around, and then leave.
Not even. Like, I mean, Mara didn't even see him until he killed the other guard.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he, like, went out of his way to be sure to kill. I'm like, dude, like, that's like a bank robber sticking around without, not taking the money, but sticking around to make sure that I kill all the guards before I run.
It's like a bank robber walking into the bank, threatening the people at the, holding people hostage, not giving the money, waiting for the police to show up, killing the police officers, and then stealing the money. But then leaving the strongest police officer still alive before you go. Like, it doesn't work.
You could have just left. Like, you didn't gain anything because he just kind of you were in the same spot you would have been if you would have just killed the first guard and left. It's not like you had anything else you needed. You just need the box, especially with how important the box is supposedly. All you need is the 3 boxes, and then you're good. But no, you have to make that a whole deal.
And something that I felt they did a little better in the 2017 one, and I'm going to say that a lot, but there is also quite a bit I liked more in this one. But there are some things that I felt the 2017 did a little better, specifically with Aquaman's character. Like I said, it gave him a little more of a motivation. It gave him more of a reason to go to Atlantis and then go up to the surface. Whereas here in this movie, Mara just says, your mother will be the first one to go up there. And I think in the other one, she said something like, I don't remember exactly, but there's one line of dialogue that was missing from her and Aquaman's conversation that had a little more of a through line. Whereas here, she's just like, your mom would have done it, so you should too. Like, Mara, why don't you do it? Why don't you both go? But something my brother pointed out is that it would have been really interesting when Bruce was talking to him in, I think it was Iceland. It would have been interesting for Bruce to be like, we need heroes like you on this team. And Aquaman to be like, I'm already helping people in my own way. I'm helping this town. I help people at sea. I don't need I don't need you to be, I don't need to be on your team to be fulfilled. You're on your own, whatever. I thought that little, him still helping people yet kind of more selfishly would have been more interesting. And then having a line of dialogue later when Mara talks to him, be like, Steppenwolf, if he gets the other boxes, both our and your world will both be destroyed. I know you don't care about Atlantis, but you care about the land up there at least a little bit. Both of these worlds will be destroyed. You're the only one who can go back and forth between them effectively. It's your job to go stop them. Giving him at least a little bit more of a motivation to then help not only the team, but also the people he's been helping the whole time. That I thought that little bit of connective tissue would have been enough, but they just dropped that instead. Just your mom, who you don't know and kind of hate, would have gone up there, so you should too. That doesn't.
Yeah, and it kind of just was like, I mean, it was like, and I know we have the Aquaman movie and everything to kind of talk about it, but it was kind of like, it kind of felt like you're trying to guilt trip me based on something that's not even mine. It's like, your mom would have done that. I've never even met my mom. It's like, I don't really, that means nothing to me. I don't really know you. I don't really know anyone in this situation. That kind of means nothing to me, especially considering, there's already a bunch of other stuff going on.
Yeah. And I really liked how in the 2017 one, he was not on board at all with Superman coming back to life. Yet in this one, the whole team was just, yeah, we'll do it. He doesn't start questioning it until they're about to bring him back.
Yeah, I was right at the end, everyone was like, wait. nope, man. It's like, okay,
Why?
it's too late now.
Nothing changed between now and then.
The only thing that changed is just that we're actually gonna do, which I understand people sometimes get cold feet at the last second.
Sure.
But it was kind of like we had this whole conversation, a whole plane ride over here, this whole thing. We're already in the alien spaceship. Already fully got the plan. He's already setting up. We got the whole. I'm already plugged into the alien spaceship now. So like, we ain't going back now. And then he's like, wait, maybe we shouldn't do this. Like now, like that was a 2 hour rebuttal. Like,
yeah, at least in the other one, Aquaman had a line of that was like, you lose something when you die, whether it's your soul or something else. Like, maybe he won't come back the same. Like that line was non-existent from this movie. I'll have a lot more to talk about that scene in particular, but I thought Aquaman being the one who was more cautious, being the one that was more of the loose cannon in that setting, just worked better for that character. Not to mention the fact that Aquaman never really got a chance to fight Steppenwolf outside from like
killing him.
like they had the little fight underwater, but like, yes, like Aquaman kind of lost underwater, which I still felt that his fight against Steppenwolf underwater was, I was hoping that scene would play a little differently than the 2017 one, but it was just a little bit longer. I felt it was just a little awkward, just kind of how they wrestled. It didn't look right. I don't think, like I would have thought that Aquaman being underwater would have put him at more obvious of an advantage, and Steppenwolf just I don't know. I thought that scene could have played out a little better to show, like, yes, Aquaman is really good underwater, but Steppenwolf outsmarted him somehow. No, it was just he can just also move well underwater. Like, okay, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, but Aquaman and Wonder Woman together hadn't fought Steppenwolf yet, and also not to mention it kind of in this movie I didn't really get the sense that Wonder Woman wasn't a match for Steppenwolf, let alone them together. You hadn't even tried it yet, so you just immediately jump to we need Superman. Like, you have an Aquaman and a Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
together.
Like, they kind of say like we're no match for Steppenwolf, and I was like, I mean, yes, and like again, like Steppenwolf was a more formidable in this version. I will say that.
Yes, we'll get to him more
really
later
good.
As well, but yeah,
they needed that, but it never felt like we are screwed without Superman. It was kind of like just in case. It kind of more felt like just an ace in the hole, which I get it when the fate of the world's at stake. It's better to be safe than sorry. But also, this whole Superman thing could have ended very poorly.
Yes.
Which at first it was like it's like you made you had like a 50-50 shot, and then you like could have made it 100 times worse because Superman just kills you all.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent segue. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into Superman specifically.
Okay.
I felt like this movie somehow did a worse job explaining why Superman came back evil. Like I said, at least in the other one, Aquaman and Flash kind of had some jokes about had some lines about, is it going to be a pet cemetery situation? Like, will he might come back, but his soul might be missing. Like, there's going to be something might be off about him. And then Aquaman freaking out on the battlefield would make more sense. Whereas here, no explanation. It's just Aquaman has one line of, I'm not sure about this. And then he comes back, and then all of a sudden, he's crazy.
Yeah.
They did not explain that.
And it was weird also because, he's just, granted, there wasn't a huge explanation other than, he's evil because we need a Superman fight. But then he's fine because Lois Lane.
Sure.
So as quickly and unreal and as quickly and randomly as he was evil, he's just, I'm perfectly okay now.
Yep.
There wasn't an internal struggle. It's just kind of, I see Lois. All right, bye. I'm going to Kansas. It's just okay.
What? And that's also something that I felt was sorely missing, is because in the 2017 one, Batman specifically says, I'll have a contingency plan if he does come back evil, and then tells Alfred get the asset ready, and then Alfred shows up with Lois. like I felt this Zack Snyder's one, I felt it gave Lois a little more agency in the scene, but I also felt in the 2017 one that him bringing in Lois kind of felt like him learning from the vision that Flash gave him in BVS, saying that Lois is the key. Like I felt Batman utilizing that information and then having Alfred bring her, like, is a more direct way of being like, that's why Superman stopped being crazy, because Batman knew Lois would make him fine, therefore the audience could more so accept he's just fine, whereas Lois just shows up and all of a sudden he's fine. Like I said, I like Lois having a little more agency in some scenes in this movie, but I felt Batman bringing her in worked as good or better.
Okay. Yeah. And it's just interesting because it was kind of just like it expects you to just play along more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, what if I don't want? But yeah, and that's kind of my thing with Lois here. Like, I know she's not in a ton of the movie, but
Mm-hmm.
like Lois is like not even a plot device, like not a character, let alone a plot device.
Yeah.
More kind of just like here because Amy Adams is on the payroll. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
She doesn't really do anything except exist. So Superman's not evil anymore, which really doesn't explain Superman being evil in the first place.
In a movie that takes place in a world where Superman just died, Lois Lane theoretically should be like the emotional core of your movie.
Yeah.
We had like 2 scenes of her mourning, and then she's makes Superman not crazy, and that's it. There's one scene in particular when, like, right before they bring Superman back, she like gets out of bed, like shakes her head and like walks out of her room, gets that cop coffee, and the cop is like, I didn't think you'd show up today, and she says, oh, just one last time. I don't know if this was the read they were intending, but it kind of, to me, her saying that and then the music, everything, the way it was shot, just felt like she was about to commit suicide or something. Like, it just didn't, like, saying one last time, and just like the way, I don't, if it's not that, I don't know what they were going for with that scene. Like, why did she say one last time? Why was it shot? Why was the music like this? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading that wrong, but it was a little
I can see what you're kind of getting at.
But if that is the read, they didn't set it up well. They didn't, like, she's only in like 1 or 2 scenes before that point. You should have had more of her struggling with the fact that I know it already said that she hadn't been at the Daily Planet in over a month after Superman died, but I feel like that's not enough. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. And also, it's kind of like, I guess it kind of just feels like, I mean, yeah, like you said, we're supposed to have this emotional scene with like Martha and Lois, and it kind of just is like, okay, whatever. Like, it's not that important. And then that whole thing, should I say it now or just like?
We'll get back.
Okay. We'll get there.
So, okay, I'm saving that for a very specific segment of this review. Okay.
Fair enough. But yeah, it kind of just feels like Lois is kind of just like, the movie is telling you you're supposed to care about this person, but it's not telling you why.
Yes. And also, the way this movie is shot, because she's in so little of it, but the way it's shot together, it almost, like, she's in like 3 scenes, but A, because this movie is so long, and B, because I felt the editing could have been a little stronger. Just the movie could have been edited a little stronger in general to make things flow better. Because she's not in it a lot, and because her scenes are so far apart, you kind of forget she's in it, and then when it does cut to her, it's kind of jarring. It kind of like stops the flow of the movie a little bit. But yeah, like I said, I like her having a little more agency, actually going to Superman to bring him back, but it I have a couple other issues with just the way that entire them bringing him back sequence happened. What did you think of the black suit?
It's fine, I guess. I mean, it's the same suit, just black. Like, it's
Yes.
okay. Like, I mean, I understand the black suit symbolizes the whole death of Superman thing, but it's not like, I don't know, the way people were like reacting about it, it's not like it was that, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's cool, but like, it's not like that serious. Like, I like black in general, but
Mm,
like, it's just the same suit in black.
so here's I have not mixed. I just have a lot of thoughts about the black suit specifically. So thematically speaking, Superman rising from the dead to put on the black suit doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, uh, a he only has the black suit because comics, like
Yeah.
just because it was in a comic book that one time. He has to have it in this movie.
Yeah.
Two, Batman is already, in all black. Wonder Woman's color is already pretty muted. Flash isn't like the bright Flash. Cyborg's, gray. Like, it just any color that Superman had originally the team had is just completely wiped out with Superman being in all black.
Yeah, they didn't
Three,
really have.
okay,
Go
yeah,
ahead. Sorry. I mean, their colors were kind of lame. They didn't
yeah,
really have color
yeah.
anyway.
Three, I feel it would have. I feel it would have been stronger if he did come back in this, very bright, very like, you know, red, red and blue spandex, because like that would symbolize, Superman coming back to like save the day and win the way he always does, be the beacon of hope. You can't really be a beacon of hope that this movie's trying to tell you he was if you're dressed in all black. It just doesn't work for me. And then I'll get to the scene a lot later as well, but in the nightmare timeline, he's not in the black suit. Like, he if there's ever a time for Superman to wear black, it's when he's evil. Yet the last time we saw Superman, he wasn't all black, and then we see him that he's evil. He's in the red and blue.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. I don't know. That one didn't make any sense to me either because it's kind of like I don't know. We'll get to that whole thing. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's like I think it's fine, and I think it's something that would have made a bigger deal if he hadn't have done it because that was one of the biggest things the fanboys were like losing their minds about.
yeah.
But you know,
It feels like the classic Zack Snyderism of where I'm gonna do something from the comics because fanboys like that stuff without it meaning anything in this movie.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it so I can do it, but it's not like it thematically it doesn't really make sense, but I'm
Yeah.
doing it because like yeah, and that's kind of the thing. It's like just adapting character, taking characters from something else, redoing it the way you want to do it, and then oh, let me sprinkle this because this happened once. Like the whole Bat Tank thing from Dark Knight Returns. Like
Oh my
yes, that did
goodness.
happen, but that doesn't really fit for what you're
It
doing.
was
But
it was the only thing we saw of the Bat Tank was what was in the trailer. That's it. People were freaking. Same with Granny Goodness. We only saw this
yeah,
imagery that people were freaking out. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be in the movie. It was in the movie.
technically speaking, yes.
In the same way Jubilee is in every X-Men movie. She's just there. Like,
She exists because that's what people want. It's just enough to say I did do it,
mhm.
but it didn't actually use it or use it definitely effectively, if at all.
Yeah, he just has it. Like, why? He
Ooh.
didn't, like, it would have been one thing if he rolled up in the climax in that big tank, sure, but he didn't. He just has it in the epilogue, and that's it. Um, Also, sticking with Superman for just another second, I feel I was fully anticipating Superman coming back to life evil being a much bigger plot point in this movie. Like, I was fully expecting, because we'd already seen him turn evil in the Nightmare timeline of BVS, I was fully expecting him coming back evil to be either completely different, like Darkseid or Steppenwolf did it themselves, or he came back and then because he came back crazy, he wasn't then able to be manipulated by Darkseid somehow. But no, instead, comes back evil, he comes back evil, and then Lois Lane brings him back to good. He puts on the black suit, and then at some point in the future, he turns evil again, but he's in the red and blue outfit. I don't get it.
It's because I think the black suit was one of those things that like everyone's saying, "Oh, Zack Snyder would have done this," and Zack's like, "Hey, write that down. Yeah. There's a lot of those moments in this movie that I kind of. It's like I don't think this was necessarily Joss Whedon added all. Now, granted, there were some scenes that were like obviously like the opening scene from like the last Justice League movie added completely by Joss Whedon, probably. However, like I feel like a lot of things that people see, this is what Zack like the things Zack originally had on paper, like that was not everything we saw. Like a lot of that stuff was seen later, and they're like, okay, this is probably stupid, so let's add this. Okay, or let's do that.
Things that are probably stupid. Can we just talk about the fact that the mother boxes woke up after Superman like screamed and then died, when that didn't really happen in BVS? Like, yes, in BVS, after he got stabbed by Doomsday, he did let out a scream and then they both died. But this is the sequel that Zack Snyder made to that movie. If that was to be such a major plot point, he should have emphasized that more in BVS, not just have that scene shot again in Justice League, just more emphasis on the scream. I feel it would have been so much better to have him let out that scream in BVS, then have an after credit scene of a mother box like waking up or something, cut to black, and then you can start this movie. You can cut out 20 minutes of the movie by just already having a mother box awaken.
Yeah. And also too, like I think it's interesting how like the mother box or whatever, it's like they're activated after it, and then it's like, okay, so they're coming. But it's like how long has Superman really been dead? Because like
apparently this movie takes place about a month after the other one.
Yeah, but it's like I guess I don't know. It kind of just feels kind of like all of a sudden everyone knows Superman is dead now. Like really? Like
yeah.
that.
And then how does Clark assimilate back into life after he was deemed, like he had an obituary and everything? How does he just come back? At least in the comics, further proof that Zack Snyder only knows the imagery of the comics without actually understanding like what they actually mean or what they actually should be doing. In the comics, unless I'm completely wrong about this, when he comes back after dying with the black suit and everything, at least for a little while, he just is Superman. He doesn't come back as Clark Kent. He just stays Superman. He's full on just like, I am Superman now. Clark Kent is dead. I am Superman. Here, he just shows back up as Clark Kent, and no one questions it, at least as far as this movie goes. He's just back. He just get his job back at the Daily Planet, and as Perry White just supposed to accept, oh, I guess he didn't die. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And it kind of just shows up, I guess. But I don't know. And like one version I've seen, he was like a military journalist or something. So it would have made sense if he just didn't show up because, they're not just going to have bodies all the time if something gets blown up or something. But like, that's even kind of a stretch. But like,
yeah, it wasn't even a situation of like, oh, in the Battle of Metropolis or in the battle against Doomsday, there was like a bunch of missing people after the fact, and Clark Kent was one of them. No, he had a funeral with bagpipes and everything. Like he was deemed dead. Via the casket, like he was dead. He can't just come back. Yeah. But he did. Whatever.
Those bagpipes and everything.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of just I just think it's weird how like he just brought him back. Like it was pretty much the same scene
Mm-hmm.
as far as movie. I mean, there maybe some there's like some deliveries may have been a little bit different. Obviously, the whole like Batman do you leap thing callback was taken out, which was
I
fine.
kind of liked that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how it could also be kind of cringy, but I think
Yes, it
that
was a little awkward, but like it kind of made the other movie worth it to have him say that and then have Batman bring Lois in. Like it, you could clearly tell it was a reshoot, but I thought it was kind of clever. And instead of Superman just like seeing Batman and just like seeing him as another enemy, he instead sees him be like, "I know you. You tried to kill me," and just like go at him. Which I don't think we brought this up, but the Justice League versus Superman fight was a lot better in this one. It was at least a little bit longer with like more dynamic. I know that Cyborg and Aquaman did a little more in this fight, which I thought was better. Still not. I still thought it was a little lacking, but like it was at least better than the Joss Whedon one.
they did something.
Yeah.
Other than just stand there, which
Yeah.
is so like annoys me with like a lot of these team up movies. Like they don't actually fight together. In this movie, I will say they fought together a lot,
Yes.
which I did like. Like people weren't just like taking turns beating up the bad guy.
I think that had a little bit of a double-edged sword because the team did fight together a lot more, which I did really like, especially during the climax, which we'll touch on a lot later. Because they fought, Aquaman like stabbing the ground, sending that shockwave out with Cyborg enhancing it. That was a really cool shot. And Wonder Woman coming in and right after and attacking Steppenwolf, and then like them all going after like that. Because they did fight as a team, it really did feel like they didn't need Superman.
Yeah, but I mean,
And then when Superman shows up, like I already had a huge problem in Justice League where he just shows up and just wallops Steppenwolf. Here it's even worse.
yeah,
You have got to be kidding me that Steppenwolf is about to hit Cyborg and Superman just appears in front of Cyborg and the axe just like ding, just like taps him on the shoulder. But Superman doesn't react. Superman doesn't like flinch. He doesn't like catch it. He doesn't like stop it in some other way. It hits him and he doesn't. I know that Superman is indestructible. I know that he is stupid OP and stupid strong. But that for him to be that much stronger than the rest of the team, for him to be that much stronger than the main villain, just took the tension completely out of the entire scene.
yeah.
I personally would have had a either him like swing the axe and Superman like catch it. At least that would show them both being of similar strength without Superman literally being impossible for Steppenwolf to kill. Or I would have had my personal favorite way would have been like Steppenwolf like swing down, but like when he swings down, like he doesn't even have the axe in his hand anymore, and it cuts to Superman just like holding it or something.
That would have been good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Superman just obliterates Steppenwolf. Just like it was a really fun, a couple of minutes of action, but it didn't sit right with me. Like it, I don't know. It just feels like the Steppenwolf, as soon as Superman shows up, you just a rag doll, which I feel. Yes, it does emphasize Superman's strength, but I feel it also makes this villain seem even weaker than he already kind of was, since he was. I don't know. Like, I just have a couple of problems with how they handle Steppenwolf in general in this movie, and I think just having him just get completely decimated by Superman. Yeah, it was a bit of an issue for me personally. But what did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it was interesting because it did show Superman's power, but it was kind of like, wow, and it also makes you feel like Superman must be like insane. Like, because honestly, like, when you look at like the flashback scene or whatever, with the whole like Darkseid thing, it's like Darkseid was kind of like not really holding his own, really. So it kind of feels like, man, I feel like if Superman can do that in the Steppenwolf, we can probably be Darkseid.
We'll get to that later.
I like
We'll
pretty
get to that.
not,
We'll get to
kind
that
of
later.
the scale. We'll get there, but yeah, the
We'll get there.
scaling is like it feels like you're just like you walk it. Superman's like walking. He's got toddler. He's basically a toddler. He's like a grown man, just kind of like I'm gonna beat the crap out of this guy. And it's
Yeah.
just kind of like, dang.
I like that Superman didn't land the final blow on Steppenwolf. I really like that in them killing him was a team effort. But it really did feel like there was one shot in particular where Aquaman had the chance to stab Steppenwolf from behind, that he just kind of hit him with his Quindent instead of stabbing him. Even though we find out later that I know he like his armor was broken, but I really do think if Aquaman had just put all his force into stabbing Steppenwolf, he probably could have done it at any point. I don't know. Just that's another instance of Zack having this idea. I have this idea that once Superman shows up, he's just gonna wallop Steppenwolf without thinking of the implications of how weak that makes the other members of the team look, and how weak that makes Steppenwolf look overall. Also furthering the implications of how weak Darkseid looks, and we'll get to that later.
And it's interesting because, like, I know there's more of them, but it felt like Superman had a harder time fighting the League than like Steppenwolf. So it's kind of like, is the Steppenwolf really that much of a threat to the League then?
I don't know.
Like, I know there's more of them, but like, considering how much faster he is and stronger,
yeah,
he probably could have just ended them all in like 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. We'll get to more about Steppenwolf and Darkseid stuff later, but like that's at least one thing that I felt was not handled the best. I want to go ahead and touch on stuff with Batman specifically now. So I personally really liked in 2017. I didn't like the scene itself, but I liked what it did. I really liked the scene where the opening scene of Batman fighting that one parademon. Because not only does it show Batman finding out about the parademons and actually seeing them for himself, it also shows him learning how to fight the parademons, and then that comes back later. Like, I really liked how he's like trying to figure out what sounds attract parademons, and then adding that to his car later to draw them in, as opposed to in Zack Snyder's, they all just attack him just because. I really liked him using his smarts to like draw them to him as like a sacrifice. I like that a lot.
Part of Batman, it's always forgotten.
Yeah. So just something about him seeing the parademon himself before going to collect the team, I think was a little stronger than him just accepting Lex Luthor's notes as fact, accepting Lex Luthor being crazy. Like he's locked up in Arkham Asylum and he says there's an attack coming and you just accept it. That seems a little weird. Actually seeing the parademon and then acting on it, I thought was would
have made more sense.
Yeah. What else? We are talking about the Bat Tank, how it was in that single shot from the trailer, whatever. I thought those gauntlets that Alfred made for him, that were basically Wonder Woman's gauntlets, was a really, really cool idea. And that stuff happens in the comics all the time, where Batman makes his arsenal as close to the rest of the Justice League as he can. But I felt they became too much of a crux for the action that Batman was a part of. Every single thing Batman did in this movie was block with his gauntlets and then counterattack. Like, Parademon shot at him, he blocked and then counterattacked. Superman, he blocked the lasers and then blocked the lasers again. And
and then he blocks it and then just takes the alien's turret gun or whatever, and it's kind of like, I mean, I understand he uses his own weapons, but it's like, wow, he's kind of just kind of mooching off his enemies.
Yeah. Not to mention, I think it would have been a lot cooler if it was his cape that they enhanced in that way, because it's totally a thing in the comics,
Yeah.
in every show ever, whether it's Batman or Robin or whoever, to like throw your cape around you to like block fire or something.
Yeah. Cape's basically like indestructible pretty much
Yeah.
in most
So
continuities. So yeah.
having the cape be the thing to absorb the energy and then send it back out when he like whips it off or something, that could have been cool. But
Yeah, there's an idea.
especially since Batman doesn't have super speed or doesn't have fast reflexes, so like he wouldn't necessarily be able to just block a laser coming at him like Wonder Woman does. Being able to throw your cape around you at least wouldn't take nearly as much precision, and I think would give you more protection anyway. So even though I do really like the gauntlets, I really do like what they symbolize, Batman learning from his partners and building his arsenal. I thought the way they were implemented wasn't the strongest. That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. And like and that's kind of thing with Batman. It's like Batman had like moments that were cool, like that, like his like knowing the language thing, so that. But it was kind of like overall, it was kind of Batman's not really my. It's not really a strong point. Batman kind of
No.
just.
And I really, really like the Batman suit that he had at the end of the movie. Like I thought the armor and even like the ears, if the ears were a little bit longer, that would be the perfect Batman suit, I think. Not the goggles sucked. Don't do the goggles. That just didn't look right.
I was thinking that. I was like, really, the goggles? Like,
But like everything else looks like my personal favorite suit, which is the one from Batman Arkham Origins, where it's like it's still like kind of made of cloth, but it has like armor enhancement. I think that's a very nice mix. I thought this was basically just modeling that perfectly.
okay.
So yeah, just no goggles, little longer ears, perfect. However, he didn't really get to do anything in it. Like in the climax, like after he got out of the back, after like he got out of the Batmobile, he just picked up a gun and just started shooting parademons, and then got the turret, shot the parademons, and then that was it. Like the movie didn't give him really a lot to do at all during the climax. Like there's one scene in particular where the parademons are shooting at Barry. Like, shouldn't that have been Batman's job to make sure that Barry is able to build that energy?
Right.
Which we'll get to that sequence a little bit later. But like, I thought that should have been Batman's job to make sure Barry can keep running, but instead he was just somewhere else. And then he just shows up, like in the end, just like, oh, okay, like I don't know.
Yeah, and it was interesting too because like. Yeah, it's like I was like, okay, I guess Batman made the plan, so he gave himself the easiest job.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's kind of just on goon patrol while everyone's actually inside doing the heavy lifting. But yeah, it felt kind of weak how like Batman kind of really wasn't a part of the final battle like at all.
Yeah,
he was kind of just around at the outside. And I get like Batman doesn't have powers, but like when has that ever stopped Batman?
Never.
Exactly.
Like there were so many instances, both when they awakened Superman and during the climax. Why wasn't he wearing either the Superman armor from BVS or like an enhanced version of that to try to take on?
Yeah.
To try to take them out.
He's
like
just kind of like, okay, you guys got this, like multiple times, and I understand like he had I guess the lowest thing, I guess, but even in that fight, he like with the Superman thing, he kind of was just like out of it.
Yeah.
Like they were kind of all fighting him, and Batman's just kind of like, "You're doing great, team."
Yeah,
like,
in both versions, they handled it a lot better in Zack Snyder's, but in both Justice League movies, the entire time I'm thinking, why isn't it Batman's job to go get the mother box that just fell somewhere else? Why, like, Batman has nothing to do in this scene aside, like just stay on the sidelines. Why not go collect the box? Like, he just lets it.
Yeah.
He just leaves it for Steppenwolf's taking.
Yeah, and it's kind of just like, like I guess it's just annoying to me because it's like Batman's not really allowed to be Batman in this movie. It's kind of like he's kind of like the rich guy and I guess the smart guy, but not really, because I mean Cyborg kind of takes more of the like technical expertise, which makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
But it's
But
still like, okay, Batman just kind of is like,
mm,
he's like the guy who gets the he's like the guy who gets the band together but doesn't actually play. Like,
yes.
like it feels weird because he didn't really like do that much other than just get everyone together.
Yeah. And something I found hilarious about Batman specifically in this movie is that walking out of 2017's Justice League, a lot of people specifically complained about Batman having trouble taking out that one parademon uh, when the rest of the team was fighting Steppenwolf the first time. In this movie, Batman still had a lot of trouble taking on that single parademon.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any complaints about that.
No. Because the movie's 4 hours long.
True. But like, and I know theoretically the I personally think the parademons should be more of a threat. I think whenever they show up in movies or shows, unless they're the more enhanced like parademons or some other like
oh gosh.
yeah, please no, more enhanced version
Flashback.
more enhanced version, they're just like flies, like they like
yeah, they're just
one shot dead, but like they should be more intimidating, but because they're not, Batman should be able to theoretically blow them up with one grenade. Instead, he like just kind of brawls with one for a bit and then just like for a long time they keep cutting back to him brawling with his one parademon, and then he finally kills it. But in that time he should have been able to like throw battering out, like like just especially for how ruthless this Batman is, he should have been able to take on
right.
a couple of parademons in a minute at least. But no, just that one
Yeah,
demon.
I mean, I know he like shoots someone when he's in the Batmobile or whatever, but it kind of feels like, yeah, I feel like he could have been doing more. He kind of,
Yeah.
he's just kind of taking on the, the little lackeys, like
Mhm.
they're the small fries. It's like, yeah, he's not really like dominating. He's kind of like struggling. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Also, it was very jarring that he only seemed to have the voice modulator sometimes. Did I hear that wrong? Like, especially during that scene, when they're first fighting Steppenwolf, there are several moments where it's just Ben Affleck. There's no, metallic overtone to it. Sometimes it's overly metallic. Sometimes there's none. Like it just, he only has the voice modulator sometimes, which I thought was weird. Like I know that was done in post production anyway, and I guess like maybe they just didn't have time to fully put it in over places, which is fine. I get it, but that just seemed like a little bit of an oversight, especially for how little Batman actually talked as Batman. I don't know, it seems a little weird for him to not have it sometimes, but whatever.
and like also the whole voice modulator thing, it's kind of like interesting because does he really? I mean, like, if you're just gonna be like, do you really need it with based on that? Because
No.
like, I mean, if you're tell people you're Batman pretty much, but then you're like, oh, I need to conceal my identity for what, the parademon? Like,
yeah,
what's he
especially in the nightmare sequence at the end. Who are you concealing your voice from? Joker knows who you are. These other people should know who you are by now. Like, why do you need to have the voice modulator?
like, yeah, it's like Joker, like that's Slade. So like, I mean, he already knew who you were.
Yeah.
But like,
we'll get to later. Yeah.
but I mean, I don't know. It just kind of feels. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe they just wanted it. Maybe it was just in and out. I don't know. But I wasn't really a huge fan.
Yeah.
Personally.
So yeah, Batman was not the strongest part of this movie, which I feel he could have been, but just like there were so many moments in the 2017 one, which yes, Batman, he joked way too much in that one. He felt very out of character, but there were other scenes in the 2017 one which I felt actually kind of gave him a little more character. Like a couple times when he talked to Alfred about their past, and Alfred makes a joke like, like, oh, the like, oh, to go back to the days when the biggest problem was wind up penguins.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good bit, because now they're dealing with something so big that wind up penguins just feel like an everyday occurrence. And also them delving more into his guilt, going more into how Batman saw Superman as more human than himself. I thought those were themes completely lacking from this movie, which I felt were important. Although there was one scene in Zack Snyder's where he Batman first brings all the team into the Batcave, and Batman goes to Alfred's like, "This is Alfred. I work for him."
Yeah.
That's a good line.
I think that was awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah, it was like, and I thought, I will say, I thought Alfred was great. I thought, especially
Yes.
I thought his wit, his like banter, his like old British, that was very much
Oh
appreciated.
yeah. I have a note for my favorite scene in the movie. My absolute favorite, and I personally think the best scene in the movie is Diana is doing research or something, but she's making tea for herself, and,
Mm.
and Alfred's like, "I mean, get that?" She says, "No, I got it." She's doing, and then he like,
He's like, oh, you want to?
just okay.
Oh no, big facts.
And yeah, and then like, she sees what he's working on. And he's working on the gauntlets, and then she was like, "Wow, you just give him a lasso and paint it black as well." Like, look good on him. Like that was such good character moments that that were present in this movie. There were several major, like, cool, important character moments in this movie. They didn't necessarily drive the plot along, but like, they don't necessarily have to, especially since it's 4 hours. You can allow a little bit of wiggle room for these, character moments to actually, you know, get to learn about and empathize with these characters. But because there were so few and far between, they felt kind of jarring. Like, that scene was a very funny, very like cool little moment between Alfred and Wonder Woman, which we never really get in the comics even. Yet it didn't really, like, I don't know, like, it just felt kind of jarring and out of place in this movie where everything else was so serious and everything else was solely focused on moving the plot along. But whatever. There's something else I wanted to say about that. Yeah, anything else you want to say about Batman before we move on?
It, yeah, I mean, he's okay, but yeah, I was kind of disappointed because everyone always says this is their favorite version of Batman, and I just kind of really have never gotten that, like his Bruce Wayne or his Batman, because Bruce Wayne kind of just feels like, oh, cool, we're doing it. He doesn't really feel like the guy who's really in control of the situation all the time. He
Yeah.
kind of just feels like he's kind of like, well, I'm gonna try it, see what happens. It's kind of why, and it kind of just, he doesn't feel like Batman. He kind of just feels like a guy who happens to be Batman. He doesn't feel like Batman.
I do really like in BVS when he's, at that party as Bruce Wayne, but he's still like in Batman mode. I do
Yeah.
really like that, but that wasn't really carried over into this movie at all. I don't know, like, also, well, not really. Yeah, Batman was fine, but I felt they could have done a lot more with him to make him feel more important to this movie, aside from just, being the one to bring the band together.
Yeah.
So I want to move on to Wonder Woman now. I think the opening scene, her stopping that robbery, was done a lot better in this one than in the 2017 one. I actually really liked the fact that there wasn't much slow-mo during that scene. Like, she actually was like taking on those guys, just like zooming from one guy to a next. I thought that looked really cool.
I think it was a little floaty how she would kind of just throw guys a little bit, and I understandably she's super strong, but like they kind of like floated there. It looked like,
yeah,
for a
and
while.
when she was like blocking all those, like, just really fast, it looked, the CG would look a little obvious there, but like,
yeah, but like, I mean, but that's kind of,
whatever. Yeah,
you gotta do what you gotta do with that.
Yeah, I was not a fan of, after she just, wasted 6 guys like it was nothing, and then survived an explosion, no problem. She then felt it necessary to do the gauntlet smash attack on that guy and blow up that wall.
One guy.
One guy with civilians behind her. Like,
she did like her limit, like on like this one little goon with like one hit left.
Like, I know he was like the main guy. He was like, the boss of this operation, but he was still just one guy with a gun.
publicly execute him in front of all those
He
children.
got disintegrated.
Yeah.
And then she just turned around and everyone's like, yeah, you saved us. Like,
I mean, now to be fair, he was just gonna kill them all just for fun.
I know, but that was a lot of collateral damage. Just
yes.
so like
Look, we're
damage for no reason.
We're superheroes. We don't care about taxpayer money.
I know. It seemed a little overkill. It seemed, especially when there were several times later in the movie when she could have done that more fighting Steppenwolf, but just kind of doesn't much. She does it like twice fighting Steppenwolf, and like that's her win condition move. Yeah, she's willing to use it against this one guy.
Yeah. And as far as we can tell, there's no like cap on it. It's not one of those things where I can only do it once at a time. I mean, I think she can kind of just do it.
Yeah, it seems like there are several points where it seems like she has to build up like a charge first, like kind of like a Black Panther suit, where you have to build up a charge and then activate it. But there's one time when she fights Steppenwolf where she just like leads with it. She hasn't taken any damage yet, and it just works. Which like fine, like I don't have a problem with that. I just want it to be a little more consistent. Like at least have, especially since that's how Batman's seem to work. They have to like, like they absorb energy. So it kind of feels like that's how Wonder Woman should work, but it seemed like no, but it's fine. So one thing that how do you even go about this? What did you think about her new theme song?
The Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
It was like kind of with the old one, but like different.
There was like that like woman like kind of like singing at the beginning, and then it goes into the rock version.
Yeah. I mean, the rock part I like. I always like the rock part. So like if they bring that into it more, I'm for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they're just trying to add to it. That first part's not my favorite part, but like I think it's good to like keep her, because like I think her theme song was one of the stronger points of the last movie. So it's like definitely that was one of the things I was kind of upset about with like some of the Wonder Woman movies. They kind of like forgot her theme song.
Yeah,
so I'm like I think they should keep that.
They used her theme song twice. It happened when she like jumps off that tank into that watchtower and then start beating up start beating up Germans. It does it then. And then I think during the credits or something.
Yeah, like
there's a very punchy moment. It didn't just use it all the time.
During the credits, but like the credits, I don't really want to hear the theme song as much during the credits.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't during the credits. I think it was
I'm not saying you have to use it every 5 seconds.
Maybe it did it during when she was fighting Ares as well. I don't remember exactly. I know it used it during like the title reveal at the very end.
Yeah.
During the No Man's Land sequence. And like I love that like that drum guitar riff. It was great. I just kind of felt like the like woman singing prelude part was a little overused. It really did feel like in Avengers Infinity War, every single time a original 6 Avenger was on screen, it would play dun 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 every single time.
It did. But that theme is legendary though.
Yes. And I'm not saying that took away from Thor's entrance, but when Black Widow just like stands up, you don't need it.
But it wasn't like it was a little bit. I think that was good because it kind of had that idea of like I ain't giving up. But like, yeah, I see your point. It kind of overdid it.
But I know I just kind of bagged on that, but I will defend it because that is the Avengers theme. That is the theme of the entire team.
Right. So it's like
because of the way it was utilized in this movie, that little like woman singing part at the beginning worked, tried to be the Wonder Woman theme, the Amazon theme, like Wonder Woman's like anything even partly associated with Wonder Woman, like when they shot the arrow and the arrow landed in that museum and started like going into flames, the woman yelling part played there as well. Every single time she shows up anywhere. Every single time she's on screen, which like especially during the climax, she's on screen a lot with the other people on the team. So it kind of started feeling like the Justice League theme towards the end, which I felt wasn't
right.
I feel
did they
like
really have a Justice League theme?
not really. No,
that's what I was thinking.
There is a like in the credits there is like a during the songs section there is like a Justice League theme, but I didn't really feel it was as ubiquitous as the Avengers theme, which I felt was a mistake. So yeah, because there at least wasn't as recognizable of a theme as the Wonder Woman theme, her bit just kind of felt like it turned into the Justice League theme to the point where I think you get three of those woman singing part before you get one when she first shows up, you get the lead up into her punching Steppenwolf through that wall, in like in the middle of the movie, and then you get her cutting off Steppenwolf's head. I think that those are the three. Instead, they played it when they shot the arrow, when she get those parademons off Batman's car, when she jumps down there with Aquaman and Cyborg. Like it happens so much that literally 30 minutes after she first showed up, I was already tired of it.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, you can definitely oversaturate with themes, so you have to be smart about where they place.
And like, I'm not knocking it. It definitely like I said, the first time when like she's standing on that big statue and it's playing that, it's like, oh, I can kind of hear the Wonder Woman theme in this. Is this going to be like a kind of vocal version of that? But then it goes into the rock theme. Like, okay, that was a pretty cool transition. But then when that happened so much after that, it just I got 30 minutes in, I was already tired of the soundtrack. It was just it was a little much. It was a good song, but it was a little overused.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing. You have to, and especially with like a super long movie like this, overuse something, it's like it shouldn't be noticeable, but if it is, then it's like that's pretty bad.
Yeah. So, did Wonder Woman not know about Darkseid before getting that arrow and going into that tomb?
No, from what it seemed, I don't think so. Because
why not?
I don't know. Because that was not explained. I don't know. And
not only was that not explained, I was watching the movie. Me and my brother were both either we both blinked at the same time, or or the movie doesn't explain this. She picks up the arrow, walks over to some tent that's nearby, reads the encryption, gets us torch, and then next thing we see, she's just jumping down into a tomb.
Yeah.
Is that tomb in the temple that was on fire? Is that tomb?
I think
somewhere else.
Like how quickly she got there. I guess it's assumed it's like under the temple, I guess.
Or was the engravings on the arrow coordinates to the other place? We didn't see her going to the other place. You just fell into a tomb.
I think it was just there. Like I feel like it's just under there because like maybe that temple was like made as a place in case Darkseid or whatever comes back. So like, hey, the alarm's off. Maybe I should go check with the whole. It's like a in case of emergency, come down here kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, and I think this was one of several points of this movie wasn't finished before they went to go finish it, but they couldn't film everything he originally wanted. That was probably something that would have been like better established in a reshoot later on, but like that's fine. Like, there are several instances throughout this movie that like I can kind of accept because of just the way it had to be made. It shouldn't be made in the first place, of the fact that it's made like this. It's fine. Oh no, I had another thought, but I lost it. Oh, right. So one thing that kind of bugs me with the fact that Wonder Woman not knowing about Darkseid before the arrow, she sees the temple on fire and she says invasion. So she knows that the arrow on fire means that there's an invasion coming, but then she had to go use that arrow to unlock a temple to learn about what the invasion was.
Yeah.
is there like a different color flame for different kinds of invasions? Is that arrow just like generally there's an invasion coming and then the encryption tells you what kind of invasion it is?
Yeah, no, and like also, yeah, I find it kind of interesting. Like they would tell him that uh, an invasion was coming, but not tell him who it was about.
Yeah,
Because I assume there's only really been one big invasion. I mean, I guess,
I guess.
but I mean,
But how is a dark side, this great, battle of the five armies tier battle from hundreds
yeah,
of thousands of years ago? How is this not a story that the Amazons tell, as like a story growing up?
especially
Especially
cons-
since they won that battle, which we'll get to later. Especially since they won that battle, it feels like something that would be like you know, it feels like something that would be celebrated
yeah,
in the Amazon tribe, but it's just kind of she has to learn about it after the fact, and especially since
especially cons-
go 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 yeah
especially considering the Amazons are immortal, so like they were all there
yeah
theoretically.
we know that
Maybe
the queen was there, so like
yeah, like I mean, maybe Wonder Woman wasn't born yet, but like pretty much everyone else should have been.
yeah, and
So
especially since they did win that battle, why is there a whole like separate Legend of Zelda style tomb secret area dedicated to the tragedy of what happened when they won that fight? What why is there this whole room dedicated to Darkseid's greater rival when they beat him? It
yeah,
doesn't.
I guess
We'll get to
because
that
they
later.
all
Like they beat
yeah.
him, so why is it this huge deal that I don't know. It nothing about that makes sense to me. If since they won the fight, why isn't it talked about more? Why did Wonder Woman have to go learn about it? I don't know.
Yeah,
It would have been stronger if she had just known it was Darkseid. You know.
yeah, would have made way more sense.
Mm.
And like also too, it's weird because like we're just like it's weird because like why yeah, like how would they not have told her about that? But there's like this ultimate in detail shrine about it that that we're
Yeah.
going into it. But
When
then
was
like
when was
is
that
there
temple
not one
made?
on Themyscira? Why is it here? Why is it not
Yeah.
on Themyscira?
Was wait, so the mascara has been shrouded, been secluded for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And why is there a temple to Darkseid built by the Amazons in the human world? Like, nothing about this sequence makes any sense.
Yeah, that
You
was
could have
kind of
cut out you could have cut this out completely if she just knew invasion, apocalypse is coming, boom, like that's it.
yeah, that didn't really make any sense. Yeah, because they're completely cut off from the human world. Not to mention the magical BS that this arrow can just go through. This arrow is going to go hundreds of miles to exactly where I needed to go.
I
Okay,
I'm
like
fine with that. Like,
I
some god or some magic does it, so
yeah, I
whatever.
mean they said it was the arrow of Artemis or whatever. So yeah, it's like
Yeah, okay.
goddess of the. I think that's goddess of the hunt or something like that.
Yes,
So
she's a goddess of
works
the hunt.
out.
Yeah.
That checks out, I
And the
guess.
moon, I think. Yeah.
Something like that. That checks out. But
Yeah.
still, like
That was one instance of this movie having a cool scene, but it lasting too long. Like them
yeah.
having the ceremony to actually launch the arrow that took 2 minutes. It didn't need to be 2 minutes. It was a cool scene, but it just took a little too long.
Yeah, and it was kind of unnecessary. And it was like, okay, we're doing this. It's like, well, okay, but why? Like, who is it really that important? Because, like, yeah, like you said, they could have just if she had just seen the thing and just known what it
Mm-hmm.
was just off the bat, that's fine. But the fact that she had to go over there, then take the arrow, then go down, find the shrine, then we had to like watch in detail her like reading the shrine and all this stuff, and like if it had
Mm-hmm.
just been, if she could have just known, that would have been fine.
Yeah. Also, there is one. Uh, there's one line where uh, when Wonder Woman first meets Batman in his cave, in in Joss Whedon's Justice League, Batman's working on the plane. She walks up, and Batman says, I paid a lot of money for that security. And she says, yeah, it looked expensive. That's a good line. That's a good character moment. Like, it implies that, like, yeah, it looked expensive. I just got past it, or I smashed it. Like, like
I'm Wonder Woman.
I'm
Like,
Wonder Woman. Yeah. In Zack Snyder's, he says, I paid a lot of good money for that security. And she says, yeah, you got your money's worth. It took me almost a minute to dismantle it. That kind of originally that moment kind of enhanced Wonder Woman. In this scene, it kind of enhanced Batman more so, because she says, you got your money's worth. It took me almost a minute to dismantle it. Is a minute long for her? Is that supposed to be a joke because it's a short time for her? It also, dismantle doesn't sound more technical than Wonder Woman should really be. I like the idea of her just walking in and just just breaking it or just walking right by it. Whereas here, she specifically had to dismantle it. I don't know. Just that one. There were several lines that were changed. Some that were way for the better. Some that I thought the 2017 one handled better. I thought that was one that just kind of A, was shorter, and B, I thought was just kind of gave more character to both of them a little bit. But yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I think I liked the first one a little bit more there. But I don't think that line was necessarily bad. But yeah, I think the first one's a little bit better. But
yeah. Time to move on to the character who many people are saying this movie did the best compared to 2017's Cyborg.
Yes, I agree.
You do?
I do, because in the first one, I know you probably here's my thing. So now there was a lot about Cyborg that was okay, we didn't need to spend this much about doing it, but I feel like in this one he actually did something.
Yes.
Other than existing, which is kind of they actually needed Cyborg, because I feel like they did not need Cyborg. He was just around.
Yeah, they actually gave a reason why he was able to interface with them.
Yeah,
as opposed to him just saying, "I can get in." And him having the through line talking with the ship that Batman was building, I thought was really, really fun. I have a little bit of an issue with the way Cyborg's progression was paced.
Okay.
Because in the original, Cyborg saw himself as a monster. He felt like he couldn't exist in society. He was deemed dead, and now he looks like this. Every day he's learning new stuff. New powers are just coming to him. He doesn't know who he is anymore. And kind of throughout the movie, more and more, he kind of as he gets more, I don't know, kind of throughout the movie, it's not done well, but I felt kind of throughout he gets more accustomed to being Cyborg and just kind of starts owning it more.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this one, he never really deals with that. He just kind of mopey for a minute or two. He gets that recording from his dad. His dad starts talking to him in this supervillain-esque. His dad sounds like a supervillain on that recording. The way it's the way the music is, the way his inflections are, just the words he's using sound like the talking of a mad scientist. Which could have been very interesting. But instead, it was used as this uplifting moment for Cyborg, for him, as he's listening to his dad talk about this, he's just instantly learning how to use his powers. He's instantly learning how to just because his dad told him what to do, he was able to just instantly do it. And then all of a sudden he's just flying over. When Wonder Woman goes to meet him, he's just flies in, which I feel thematically, him walking in with the hood up and everything thematically works so much better, because both him and Wonder Woman both have had issues with not wanting to be in society. So them talking at least had that through line, as opposed to Cyborg just flying in, and then it just doesn't really. I didn't really feel that connection there anymore. But maybe that's just me. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I do see your reasoning point and kind of how it was going. I just kind of more liked it just because like in the first one, I remember specifically feeling like Cyborg was just put in here because we needed an extra
Yes.
person. Like it was not, and I remember being upset about that because I was like, if you really wanted an extra person, why'd you pick Cyborg? You could have picked a different Justice League member.
Yes.
Like, you know, it was kind of like, it was just kind of upsetting because he was very lifeless, didn't have much of a personality. It was kind of just, I exist because I need to. And then he like, you know, and it's like, booyah. It's like, you did not earn that. Like,
yeah, I do really like that he does a lot more in this one. I do really like that he actually has a character. I feel there's a good middle ground between those two.
Yeah.
Where he still feels like a monster, he still feels like he can't live in society, but then also naturally learns how to use his powers, naturally learns how to open up to people, naturally, you know, has a character, helps people in his own way. But instead, I didn't really like either one that much. I think I overall prefer the one in Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I really like what they were going for in 2017.
Yeah, I could see that. I guess my thing too is like I like how they like kind of gave him backstory. I think it was a lot more than they should have. I don't think they needed the entire football scene in this thing. You could have just put it like, you know, like I like football, but even I was like, well, first of all, that was very unrealistic. But also, it's like, you know, it was kind of just like, you know, like okay, cool. Like you could have just been like, you know, my dad doesn't support me. And then, oh my God, I'm a cyborg. You know, it's like his mom. The whole thing with his mom and everything was like, not that I thought she was bad. It's just kind of like she didn't really need to be there.
Yeah, there are two separate scenes in this movie of people not looking where they're going and crashing.
Yeah,
they're kind of back to back, and it's a little jarring. Like, it's not that I don't feel bad about his mom dying. It's just because we already had a scene earlier of someone not looking where they're going and crashing, and that being that guy's fault, her crashing and also kind of being her fault, even though they're talking about this being the dad's fault for not being there, causing the crash, just doesn't work for me that well. Like, I get that you need the mom out of the picture. I get that, you know, him dying in a crash, like that's comic accurate enough. But like, I personally prefer when Silas is directly responsible for what happens to Cyborg. Like Cyborg is in his lab where he does something, some experiment goes wrong, and Cyborg like explodes and fuses with a mother box, or like where he has to like rebuild him, or just. I personally prefer when Silas is directly responsible.
Like
like
he like shows up to his lab after his game, like you weren't even there for me. Do you even care about me? You care about this stupid, you know, mother box more than me. And then the thing like takes over his body or something crazy or something. Yeah, I think that would have been.
Yeah, I like, you know, Silas seeing his son saying like, I wasn't there for you, but I will be there for you now. I'm gonna do everything I can to save you. I do like that idea. Just the abstract of him blaming the car crash on Silas when it was the mom who wasn't looking where she was going. Just, I don't know, just something about that doesn't work for me that well.
Like in emotional crisis, like I kind of get it because like that's not really a logical point, but like emotionally that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you know your mom dies, you're basically, I mean, you're a computer now, so like I guess like if you're kind of just reacting in terms of how I'm feeling, that's fine. But like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't my favorite plot thing either, but yeah, I think, but overall, I liked, especially once the movie kind of got going. Like the first half of the movie, when it's kind of on standby, I'm kind of like whatever. But once it got going, Cyborg actually doing stuff and being a character was actually good.
Yes. Although I just had this epiphany just yesterday. it doesn't make sense that in this movie, Cyborg would attack Superman just, out of nowhere. In Justice League 2017, when Cyborg, when his defense systems freaked out and attacked Superman, it was because Cyborg hadn't fully developed his power yet. He was still gaining new abilities every 5 minutes. So he still wasn't fully in control of him, making it really feel like the Cyborg part of him was like had a mind of its own. Whereas in Zack Snyder's, in a very long montage, we specifically were told he now has complete control over what he's doing. And now all of a sudden, his defense systems are reacting. He can't stop it, and he's attacking Superman.
Yeah, that is actually a very strong point, actually. Yeah, he kind of just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I was like, yeah. I thought you just like had full control. Like what?
Yeah,
we had a whole thing. Like I thought you were good. Nope, plot device. Okay.
I've heard people explain that away of like, oh, because the mother boxes are afraid of Superman, he's attacking Superman. But no, in this one, it's not that he fused with the mother box. It's just the mother box recreated him. I don't think that necessarily works as well as opposed to in the New 52 when the mother box literally fused with Cyborg. Here, the mother box just kind of made Cyborg what he is as opposed to fusing with him. So I don't think we would need to be told because he is part mother box, he's afraid of Superman, so he's attacking. That wasn't explicitly told to us. So again, it asks a lot from the audience to just accept that.
Yeah, it's kind of a stretch, but
Yeah. I like the extra arms. Those were kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. They kind of seemed like they came out of nowhere, but yeah, it makes sense because he's a robot. But I was like, okay, cool.
Sure. Now on to Flash. He still had a lot of jokes. Most of them were a lot better.
Really? Okay, this is maybe a me thing. I did not like the Flash in this movie. I didn't.
No.
Like he. Okay.
I liked him a little better than 2017's, although I still didn't like him. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, the last movie was like so cringy that it was just like, you can't be serious. This one, it was just kind of cringy to the point I was just like, stop talking.
Yes.
Like, I literally wrote down Flash needs to stop talking because it's just. The only scene I liked him in was the scene with his dad. Like that was like the only scene that he wasn't the worst character on the screen.
Yes.
None of his scenes made sense, really. Especially that let's talk about the Iris scene for a second. So that happened. I guess it just seems. Well, first of all, like you said, it kind of feels like weird, like that accident happens. First of all, a guy going that fast on the truck drops his burger. He's gonna continue to accelerate while digging down.
No, come on.
That is no. I understand people are bad drivers, but he's not even on the highway. He's on a regular street.
Yeah.
Drive. First of all, I don't even think trucks that big are on on the regular street. It's just a regular street. Trucks that big just going down a regular street like that. Okay, and not that they wouldn't, but it's and he's going fast. This guy is going way faster than he should be.
Something I found kind of funny. I don't know why I find this so funny, but Iris crashes into the very back of the truck. It's not that the truck crashes into her or that she crashes into the middle. The truck is almost passed before her car only a little bit of her car actually hits the truck and then it flips. Just something about the fact that they almost miss each other just makes that scene a little funny to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I think it's interesting how I understand car crashes can be really bad.
Yeah.
But the fact that her car just tumble, explode. Kind of like, really? We had like,
Uh,
I understand that cars are like can explode pretty easily with crashes with like fire
yeah,
and stuff, but like that was like a SpongeBob explosion almost.
yeah.
Like that felt like one of those where like Squidward like
Uh,
falls off a cliff like dump 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 and just
uh,
like blows up for
love
no
it,
reason.
love it.
Like that felt very
Uh,
unnecessary. Like I understand it was a crash that was pretty brutal, but like I mean like
yeah,
why did the car
it's a
explode?
Zack Snyder movie. It's
Like
what happens.
right? Like that was so unnecessary. Like that did not need to
Yeah,
happen. And
and
then this whole thing of like he like goes and like first of all he's like kind of creepy when he's like
yeah, he's like
he's
caressing her face. Why? What is this? We're
like
first getting introduced to this character,
like
and he's a creep. No, that's no. Stop that. Stop
yes
that.
yes like that's the last thing the last thing the world needs is a creep with super speed. Like you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like that is not a like and yeah he's just and like granted yeah she's pretty or whatever but like dude what are you
she
doing? You like
not.
grab her face and like
Yeah, like I have a lot of problems with that scene in particular. I think this might sound weird. I really do like that scene as an introduction to Flash's character and to his powers, but it adds absolutely nothing to the movie. It could have been cut completely and nothing would have changed. If anything,
exactly
I think it would have been a slightly stronger movie to have him be the first time you're talking to him is talking to his dad. You find out his motivations, you find out like what he's
yeah
like, who he is, what he's doing this, like why he's doing this. You get, you can still talk about the fact that he's working 4 or 5 jobs and he's making time. You can still get the abstract of like, if you know that he is super, if you know that this character has super speed, you get it. But if you don't, you're like, oh, he's a very hardworking kid. And then when he goes to talk, sorry, when Bruce goes to talk to him, the audience, if you don't know who Barry is, the audience doesn't know he has super speed yet. So then when Batman throws the batarang, Flash starts using his speed and catches it. The audience learns that he has super speed at the same time that Batman does, who is more or less this movie's main character. Because even Batman didn't really know how he gets around. He just thought he like teleported or something. But knowing that he has super speed at the same time the audience theoretically would, I think is stronger than having this scene that does showcase his powers, does showcase his personality a little bit, talking to that lady at the pet store, but then nothing from that scene comes back. It doesn't. In the
no
epilogue, he's not working that
no
job. Iris doesn't come back.
no
It's not.
it was just that was a scene that he just wanted it. That was just neat. That doesn't add anything to the plot. You learned nothing
Yeah.
new about him.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be a very, very solid deleted scene on the DVD.
Yes. But yeah, it doesn't really add. It doesn't need to be in the movie. And
Yeah.
considering your movie's 4 hours long, I think I think that wouldn't even
Yeah.
be close to cutting.
Yeah. In like the 2.5 to 3
So
hour theatrical cut where stuff would be shortened, scenes would be cut, etc.
yeah.
That I think that would be one of the scenes that would be cut, and I think it would actually kind of be better for it. Maybe again, it's a good scene. I do like it. It just doesn't need to be in the movie, especially since
Yeah.
Iris doesn't return.
Yeah, that would be like a good like opening scene for like a Flash movie or something.
Mm-hmm.
That would have probably been better. So that also, so like this is kind of like just nitpicking, I think a little bit, but like so we're talking about how like Barry like has like a billion jobs, is trying to save up for his degree or whatever.
Yeah.
So he has like basically has no money, but also has, as they discussed, a NASA grade like friction proof suit.
Yep. Doesn't explain how he got it.
Huh? No, at all.
No.
Like at all.
Like it's one thing if he works at Star Labs and over time like kind of collected parts to make that, or it was given to him by or made for him by Cisco or something. No, he just has it.
Yeah, I don't understand that because like the fact like if they had I don't the part that he had the suit doesn't bother me. I think the fact that like he explained to him that like that's the same stuff they use for NASA was kind of like, okay, this guy just talked about how I can't afford college. Now, don't get me wrong, we both know college is very expensive.
Sure, yeah.
However, I feel like a college degree at CCU or wherever wouldn't be as much as a NASA based, you know,
No.
like velocity
Yeah,
suit. I mean, that thing should be millions of dollars at least. Like,
further proving the point that both him and Cyborg's roles in this movie, I really feel like the story they were trying to tell with both these characters would have fit a lot better if they'd had their own movie first and then were brought into Justice League. Because Cyborg, again, I think his dad almost being like a supervillain type thing, but then dying, could have been really, really cool. Could have been like a really cool thing to actually have in a Cyborg movie, delve more into that idea. But because because we have to make a Justice League movie, you can just hint at it, but then have it be more of a heroic moment, which I felt didn't really work. Same with Flash. Like we're just thrusted into him already having his powers, already having a full on, armored suit just because, and it just doesn't. It just feels like we're too far into the story to really take seriously, I guess.
yeah, because it's like, yeah, that's one of those things that, yeah, I feel like should have been more explained. Or, it's like, I don't know. It kind of felt like they were trying to set up the character, but like didn't really. They were like, okay, so what do we know about Barry Allen? Okay, he's always late for stuff. Okay, that's a thing. That's true.
Funny.
That's always a thing. That's why he's it's the whole thing. It's ironic because he's the Flash, whatever. The whole entire dog sitting, the whole or grooming or whatever job, like that whole thing was just kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that scene felt like I don't know. I know I just went circle back to that, but yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like a lot of the Flash stuff in this movie felt very like I don't know. I think I just missed it. Maybe I missed it, or maybe I just didn't like it. But it just I don't know. The Flash felt very done wrong by this movie.
Yes. And one thing that I think shows that completely is the fact that his powers seem very inconsistent.
Yes.
Like, for example, in the scene where they're first fighting Steppenwolf at that harbor or whatever, we see those rocks falling down on those people they save. Flash like uses his speed to collect all those rocks really, really fast. And immediately after, we see him slow-mo run around and hit the sword. And then he falls. He falls and crashes. And then, they look up and they see the Nightcrawler fall. Flash, runs out of the way and crashes into the wall.
Yeah.
Me and my brother had to rewind that scene. We laughed so hard at it. Like, he's standing there. He already crashed into the wall when he already, tripped and fell over his own feet when he ran. He fell. And then the Nightcrawler's falling. He ran and just slams right into the wall. It really does look like that was like him crashing was another take of him tripping over his feet and crashing into a wall. They just used it twice. When he's fast enough to collect these rocks that are currently falling, yet he can't just basically stop time, move 2 feet that way and not be crushed by a giant robot. Like, he has to move so insanely fast that he hits the wall. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Right. Especially if he could control it so effortlessly earlier that he could just move exactly and placing things and putting things and even touching people without harming them.
Yeah.
But then I can't move from here to here without throwing myself across the room.
I did really like him pushing that one parademon and just how he fought. Really, I thought was really fun.
Right. Which is true, because if you were that fast, you wouldn't really actually have to do a lot. You can kind of just push people at super speed and they go flying.
Yeah. But his powers, again, I felt were very inconsistent. Like he had one line about, if I go past the speed of light, time gets a little weird, but I can do it. So then when he runs to start the mother box, he's running and the mother box floats back up, but so does Pa Kent's picture, which fell well before the mother box did. So I know you're saying that, I know this is giving a hint at his ability to time travel, which we'll get to in just a second, but both these objects are moving at the same time, even though they didn't fall. Well, they're not moving at the time where they would have. I don't know. Like, does that make sense? Like, both these objects fell at very different times, that they're both going up at the same time, kind of making it feel more like he's moving gravity as opposed to moving
Physics.
time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're getting at, but yeah, I guess it was one of those. I think that's one of those things they were just kind of whatever. I guess they didn't really think about it, but I mean, it was okay. I think the time travel thing was a little, not that they had to like super explain it, but it kind of felt kind of like, oh, we're just pulling this out of our okay, like
Yeah. I do think that Flash's time travel sequence was the most impressive shot, the most impressive scene in the entire movie. It was absolutely one of those instances of Zack Snyder being like, I have this incredible idea for a sequence. The unity is going to happen, everything is going to go to crap, but Flash is going to be able to go back in time and save it. Like, that is a really, really cool idea. He didn't really consider how to get there because
right.
Flash is running stupid fast around the perimeter, building this charge to help Cyborg interface with Unity. Cyborg is just kind of standing there, like he had just gotten away from Steppenwolf. He is just standing there, touching the boxes. Flash is still running around. Superman shows up and and starts bopping Steppenwolf. Flashes are running around. Cyborg isn't saying anything. And then a parademon, who Batman should be stopping, a parademon had enough time to shoot the Flash that is moving at 12,000 miles per hour.
Basically.
Perfectly in the gut. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, I kind of was like, there's no way he just got shot going that fast.
Yeah.
Because he's going, I mean, that's like circular, like a mile at least.
Yeah.
Like going that fast. The odds of him actually hitting you, even very on your worst day, are like
very, very low.
1 in a million. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. So then, he's completely stopped. He lost the charge, everything. And then the Unity starts, and he's immediately able to go from 0 to infinite speed, just like that.
After being wounded.
Yes. Like, I know he healed it, but again, that asks the audience to do a lot of heavy lifting of just assuming this Flash is already tapped into the Speed Force enough where he can just instantly time travel. Which, again, it led to the best, one of, if not the best sequence in the movie. That's not a character moment, like an actual, as far as action scenes go, like him running and the world getting completely disintegrated around and him running, as he's running, the world reforming around him, lampposts showing up, that. It was shot really well. It looked really cool. It was just very contrived how we got there. I loved that scene. If you just show me that scene, I would be like, okay, that's great. But then how we actually got there, again, the Zack Snyder specialty, how we get somewhere, how we actually got to the Batman in the warehouse sequence, didn't make much sense. But it was still a cool scene. But how we got here, not the best.
Right. Yeah, that's like you said, that's bread and butter. It's like the scene, yes, by itself in a vacuum, the scene is pretty cool. But the context doesn't really fit.
No.
Or make any sense. But we're just gonna ignore that because that looked cool, apparently. But no.
Yeah. And so this movie also does a ton of telling but not showing, which is crazy since it is a 4-hour movie. It is told a couple of different times that
4 hours.
Yep. It is told to us a couple of different times that Flash looks up to Superman. Superman was the Flash's hero, but the movie didn't really show us that at all. Especially since before then, everyone on Earth either loved him or hated him, but most people seem to hate him for some reason. We never got any interactions later between Flash and Superman. We saw Flash Superman's back to life. Like, freaking out a little bit that Superman came back, but then they never interact after that point. I thought that would have been cool. Like in 2017's, just them, the after credit scene of them racing. That's a really fun idea. And like, Flash being like, like, you're my hero. Like, it would be so cool if I'm actually faster than my hero. That would have been a really cool scene, but it just kind of didn't. And the scene that kind of showcased this the most was when they're digging up Superman's grave. In Zack Snyder's, that scene only exists to exposit the fact that Flash admired Superman. Like, Flash makes a little like quip where it's like, I could do this a lot faster, and Cyborg just kind of looks at him, and then Flash is like, he was my hero, I really looked up to him, and then just kept digging. Like, at least in they didn't say it would be disrespectful. He just says he was my hero. At least in the original, they were like, he was like, we could do this a lot faster if I use my speed. And Cyborg was like, yep. He's like, would it be disrespectful? He's like, probably. And they kept digging. Like, at least kind of, it wasn't.
Hinted at it more.
Yeah, it played more as a joke, but at least it made more sense. And then also, I really enjoyed that scene. Again, that scene in Joss Whedon's was a perfect character moment. Yes, it did. That scene actually did kind of move the plot along, but it also was a character moment of both Flash and Cyborg talking to each other and acknowledging the fact that they're both the accidents on the team. They both, like, all these other people either built up their powers or were born with them, whereas they were just accidentally got their powers. I thought that was really cool and interesting. Here in Zack Snyder's, they didn't really talk much at all after that. They just got the casket and left.
Mm. Yeah, that was it was okay. Like, I don't know. That was one of those things I feel like really didn't really even need to be in the movie.
No, it did not.
At all. But we're here.
My favorite joke in the whole movie, outside of the little, like, the bit with Alfred and the tea with the Wonder Woman, my favorite joke was when the Flash is in that truck and he's talking to Aquaman, and he's like, okay, tell me what you think. Option A or option B? And then I'm thinking A, and Aquaman's like, let me see B again.
Yeah. He's, not that one. And he's like, okay, what was this one? He's like,
let me see it.
Like,
that scene, again, that scene kind of almost works, but because Aquaman didn't really have much of a character in this movie, in the other one where he was more of a loose cannon and was a little more serious and just kind of really did feel like he didn't want to be there, it would have worked a lot better. But because here he's just on board and doesn't really seem to have much animosity with anybody on the team, it just didn't. I don't know. It just kind of seems like, I don't know. Like, I think that was the best joke in the movie, which it was kind of funny. When my brother and I were watching this, we watched it over 2 days. We stopped right before chapter 5. So, and like, when we stopped at chapter 5, we were very, very negative on this movie up to that point. Just, there's one sequence, well, actually two, kind of, that we'll get to a little bit, just a little bit, that just completely ruined any goodwill the movie had built up to that point. So then the next day when we started up, chapter 5 was actually starting off pretty good. Like, it actually started off with a couple of decent jokes. It had a decent Batman and Alfred interaction. It had that joke with Cyborg. Oh, sorry, with Flash and Aquaman. The fight with Superman was better. And then we kind of, like, after that, kind of got a little worse after that point until the very, very end. We'll get to that. But, like, it was interesting, taking a break and then coming back and, like, almost feeling like we were actually going to enjoy the rest of this movie. And I'll get to my final verdict later, but it was just very interesting coming back and seeing, like, oh, it's actually, actually kind of liking this right now. But,
not terrible.
Yeah. Again, like, it's a 4-hour movie. There's going to be stuff I actually do like. And I have an entire list of stuff later that I really did like about Zack Snyder's than I liked more than the 2017 one. But yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. We can go ahead and talk about Martian Manhunter.
Okay. So, initial thoughts. Go ahead. I'll let you start.
You start. I need to let it marinate for just a second.
Okay. While I appreciate them adding a character that I like, I feel the addition in this case and how it was utilized was unnecessary. Because like, if you're just like, I like Martian Manhunter as a character.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a very good Justice League member. I think he's a great character. I like his whole deal. His powers are awesome.
Oh yeah, really I think he's my third favorite Justice League member. Like,
great guy, dude. But like how they brought him in, and how they just didn't use him at all at any point, other than just to pretend to have a serious moment with a plot device. Mm-hmm. Some call her Lois. I do not. Like, pretty much. Yeah. I don't get it. And like, I know he has that scene at the very end with Batman, which is kind of a pointless scene anyway. I mean, it kind of just felt like they just put him in there to say, "Oh, we had these ideas that no one," it's like he just had him just to have him. He didn't actually do anything, although he knew something was going on.
I didn't want to put it in this strong of a context. I didn't want to use this strong of a language, but after what you just said, I have to. I hated every single second Martian Manhunter was on the screen. Like the Lois and Martha conversation worked so well. Again, it didn't really move the plot forward, but that's okay. It's these two pivotal characters who were super close. These were the two characters that were closest to Superman. We'd even like it would make perfect sense that they would try to keep in touch. Like, they're both mourning the loss of a loved one for collectively for both of them. We even saw at the end of BVS where they were there to comfort each other. So now, it's been a month and Martha is just coming to check on essentially her, her daughter at this point, because she knew that Superman had proposed. So like that was such a strong moment to be like, not only did it work to just seamlessly exposit that she hadn't been back in the Daily Planet, it exposit how Martha had been dealing with everything about the farm and everything. Like it was a really cool moment to show that, Martha, though she was still sad about what happened, she was overall like accepting of the fact that like he's gone. Like, I'm fine with losing the farm. I'm too old and weak for me to keep it all myself anyway. Like it's not a problem. Like I'm a little worried about how you're dealing with this. Like that just felt like such a strong moment between these two pivotal characters to Superman. And then Martha leaves the room and she's Martian Manhunter?
Why? Why? Why?
I've seen people defend that scene where it's like, oh yeah, Martha had a lot on her mind. She was dealing with a lot. Like,
that was the whole reason she would meet up with her in the first place. That makes no sense.
Talk about their grief together. Like,
that's the whole point. And also, if I was Lois Lane, I would be pissed at Martian Manhunter. Like that's like super like sensitive like feelings and like vulnerable.
It raises so many questions.
Moments, and you're just this random stranger. Also, what does Martian Manhunter gain from that? Why would you do that?
He says something like, "You're more important than you know, Lois," and then walks away. That raises so many questions. A, did he know Martha before? Had he been Martha at some point before? Did he Did he just like read Martha's mind and knew what to tell Lois? Did he read Lois's mind and knew what she was going through?
Oh my
Did
god.
like we did, why did he show up then? Why that that him being Martian Manhunter felt like a reshoot. It really, really felt again a Zack Snyder classic of I've already shot this scene. Oh, but I have a very cool idea. I'm just gonna throw it in here. I have a cool idea for to introduce Martian Manhunter in this movie. So I'm just gonna, say that Martha was Martian Manhunter. Martha Manhunter? Martha Manhunter.
Where did you say that name?
Martha Manhunter here. Even though it would be such a
Oh,
much
I tried.
stronger moment to be real Martha talking to Lois, nothing would have changed. Literally everything further into the movie, like Lois would have done the exact same stuff she would have done if it would have been Martha. Also, when Martha shows up later at the farm, it's so weird to think that we hadn't actually seen the real Martha up to that point in this movie. Or at least we're not sure if we had. We saw her leaving the farm originally. Then the next time we're seeing the real Martha is when she's driving up back to the farm. So we never got a check in on how real Martha was doing between those points. Because even though what Martha Manhunter was saying was probably what real Martha should have been saying anyway, it ended up not actually being Martha, so we have no idea what Martha is actually doing in this movie. So dumb.
And it makes no sense because, like, if you're just gonna have her not be, if you're just gonna have the only important real scene she has in the movie not even be her, why is she even in the movie in the first place?
And and then it raises the question when Martha shows back up at the farm later in the movie, is that even
Probably
Probably not.
not. Like, I mean, imagine how that would have gone. It's like, thanks again for talking with me the other day. She's like, I've been in Kansas this whole time.
Exactly. Like
What?
me talking to you
Like,
really helped me get through some stuff. And I'm like, I've been in Kansas the whole time. Why are you talking? Like that wasn't brought up. That's a question that was just completely dropped from the movie. Like, I just it was a bad decision. It literally makes me like it makes me angry just thinking about it. And I love Martian Manhunter. It it just again, it felt like Zack Snyder had this grand idea to put Martian Manhunter in the movie somewhere, even though just letting him show up at the very end would have been fine.
yes.
Instead, you shoehorn him into a scene that he makes worse by existing.
And it's annoying too because, like, it it's just dumb because now you have that introduction to the character, which again I like Martian Manhunter as a character, but it's like that was a terrible introduction, and also it was completely unnecessary because he wasn't even in the movie.
Yeah. And then, as soon as he turns into Martian Manhunter, he then turns into the military guy that we knew from BVS and Man of Steel. I think Zach had said at some point in the last 3 years that it was always his idea to have this guy be Martian Manhunter. I don't know. No, it was not. You thought of that 2 years ago.
Like, I doubt that.
That was a fan theory that you were like, oh yeah, let's just do that.
Well, yeah, that's totally what I had in mind.
But then because this military guy has been around in both those two movies, that just raises the question: why hasn't Martian Manhunter, one of the strongest beings in the DC universe, why hasn't he been helping when the world was getting invaded by? Come on, you were just
multiple times.
watching
Things
when
were
Zod was
horrible.
there, like Doomsday.
And you can't be like he didn't just. And you can't be like it wouldn't have made sense if he just showed up because literally everyone just shows up in these movies.
He just shows up in this movie. Yeah.
Like there's no like you can't. That makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
That Martian Manhunter's been here this whole time, while a Doomsday was just going to town, or or more recently this is going on, and he's just kind of like, wow, I hope they can handle this, especially when their biggest question for most of the movie is, can we beat him by ourselves, or do we need Superman?
Mm-hmm. Like Martian Manhunter is
I bet if
basically
you had a Martian
on
Manhunter, you
Superman's
probably
level.
would need Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Like,
since in BVS, that guy was the one who pushed the nuke button to nuke Superman. If you would just gone to help, you wouldn't need to nuke him. and then because we know that, also it would have been so easy at a point earlier in the movie to just like have that military guy at some point in the movie and then him turn into Martian Manhunter. Like it would have been way easier to do it that way as opposed to turning from Martha into Martian into this guy. And then because we know that he's just been this military guy this whole time, him calling himself the Martian Manhunter makes no sense. Like I already have a problem with just kind of the way the him talking to Batman scene was shot, because Batman wakes up from the nightmare, which we'll get to later. He hears something outside. It kind of like pans across the wall, it goes to black, and then it fades back in. It's just like we're outside. I thought we would pan to some big reveal, but no, we still just kind of see Martian just kind of descend. It would have been, I think, I personally, if I were to do that, I would have done it where like Martian is descending, but the way it's framed, it's almost like he's supposed to be Superman or something. Like, the cape, the way he's shaped looks like Superman coming down.
And how like the sound when he like came in the area or whatever.
Yeah. I personally would have had him already looking like Superman coming down, and Batman being like, something's off here. Just somehow noticing that he's not actually Clark. And then him like transforming into Martian. And then Batman's like, who are you? And Martian tells him his thing, about how your parents will be happy, whatever, blah 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 blah. And then when he's about to leave, he says, "Oh, by the way, you can just call me Jean," and then leave. That would have been stronger, because now he says, "Oh, and people call me the Martian Manhunter."
Who are these people, first of all?
Who are these people? Because to Batman, that could mean one of two things. Either people call you the Martian Manhunter because the only two options I could possibly think of are because you're a Martian who hunts humans. Like you don't seem to be a detective, because apparently he was called the Martian Manhunter because in the 40s a manhunter is like a different name for a detective in the 40s. So so that's why he was called that, because he was a Martian who was a manhunter, a detective. Either Batman should be afraid of this guy because he just said that he's a manhunter, like he's probably dangerous if he's just calling himself that, or other people call him that, or he's a Martian man named Hunter. Those are the only two options.
Oh my gosh.
Those are the only two options, and both of them aren't great. Like, just call yourself, oh, you just call me Jean, and then leave. Like, the audience would know, like, if you don't know who this guy is, like, you
read a comic book.
if he's just going to call himself Martian Manhunter, why would he leave that until he's about to leave? Why wouldn't he just leave with that?
Yeah. Like, we can get the specifics later. He didn't have to. That was a little on the nose and unnecessary.
Just everything about how they implemented, one of my favorite DC characters made me angry, and I don't like that.
I agree. It was, and again, one of those things that wasn't needed.
Yep.
But, because this was hyped up as Zack Snyder's vision, Zack's like, okay, I can't disappoint. I gotta, think, that's like, just because you put stuff in the movie doesn't make it automatically good. Mm-hmm. You have to make it make sense.
Yep.
Martian Manhunter is like, why is he even in the movie? Like, first, aside from the ending, even the lowest thing in general is just horrible. Mm-hmm. Because one, he gains nothing from that. I guess you could argue, oh, well, he wanted to check in because he knows Lois is the key. What, from the future? Because how would he know that?
How would he know that?
Like, I don't understand that, how he would even know that in the first
Mhm.
place. Two, if he's been Martian Manhunter this whole time, how do we know? I mean, how do we know? Like, it would have been more interesting if like if they had known that was Martian Manhunter, and then the lowest they brought, maybe he was Martian Manhunter, and if Superman didn't snap out of it, then he would have like punched him or something.
Yeah.
That could have been something.
Also, now that I'm thinking about it, both Superman and Lois both know the military guy. That was the
Yeah.
guy that Lois was talking to during BVS about, like, trying to figure out where that bullet came from. And him and Superman had some interactions in Man of Steel. So it would have been just as reasonable to first of all have the Martha scene just be as is. No, don't have the Martian stuff. Just have the Martha scene, and then later have the military guy check in with her or something, or have her talk to the military guy at some point, and then him turning into Martian.
Mm.
You could have done both, and they both would have been good. Instead, you fuse them together and made it bad.
Trying to do too many things at once without rationalizing either of them, and then
Yep. So, okay, I think it's time to move on to Steppenwolf. He is better. I think he looks better.
He's more intimidating, at least in the beginning.
Yes. I do really like how his axe doesn't have that weird like Tron trail to it. Instead, like, like lightning. I do really like the lightning effect on it. It just makes it look more impactful. And I like how he just seems like a lot more animalistic, and just seemed much more ruthless especially when he's fighting the Amazons. Like, it was every time he's fighting something, it just feels better to see him actually do stuff. Opposed to the other one, he looks like a big Barbie doll just swinging that thing around. Like, it just didn't look great before. I do think the spikes were a little way too much.
Yeah. Like, and it was funny because like when those like images or whatever were showing, it's like, this is the Steppenwolf we want. It's like, he looks like he's like wearing like an outfit from like Kiss or something. Like, it looks like a little, it's like, I
don't get it.
Like, okay, he's extra spiky, but no one, like, why does that
not
matter?
at all how he looks in the comics, which, like, is fine. You can have your own interpretation, but like, how can you say this is Steppenwolf if that's not the color or the look of Steppenwolf's ever been?
It doesn't look anything like him either way. That's the end of the point. But it's like, oh, this is the better. Why? Why do you like this one better? Because it looks more spiky, I guess.
Not to mention the new design. It was just distracting. Like, it'd be one thing if the spikes just like came out when he's about to fight, which I thought was really cool. Like, when he came down the Amazon room, his armor kind of formed around, like spiked up, and then he started fighting. That was cool. But when he's just standing there, the spikes kept like moving around and like sticking up and sticking back and just like moving around, and like whenever Steppenwolf was talking to Desaad, I couldn't focus on what they were saying because Steppenwolf's armor kept shifting and changing, and it was very distracting.
Oh man! Oh yeah. Oh, can we talk about that for a second?
Yep.
Like that, like apocalypse FaceTime thing.
It was weird, I think.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting how, like, I mean, because here's my thing. Like, he calls him like 3 times, but 2 of the conversations he had are the exact same conversation.
Yes.
And it's kind of just like, if you did has changed since the last
I found a box. Where is it? I don't have it. Do you know where it is? I know where it is. Okay, go find it. Okay, the parademons are gonna go get it. Okay.
Next
Hey, Desaad, I found a box. Where is it? I don't have it. You know where it is? Yeah, the parademons are gonna get it. Okay, go get it. Okay, bye. Like, that's
like
twice.
Both times. And I'm kind of like, does no one think that's like if someone called me twice to tell me something they just called me to tell me, I would just hang up on that. I'd be like, what? Why are you telling me that again? I know that, but I mean, it was okay, I guess. But but these are like, I mean, these are minutes that like add up, man. Like, it's like scenes like these that are very unnecessary. And I did like how they gave Steppenwolf a little bit more of a motivation than just because I'm evil, I guess.
Yeah.
They kind of gave him more of the what am I thinking of? Kind of like the
prodigal son type thing.
Kind of, but like not in the same way. Almost like a Zuko, but not as nearly as like
Oh yeah, I
done
imagine.
well.
But
I,
yeah, I
I
see
know.
what you're saying. Like he was like disgraced. We didn't really get.
Yeah, he's like, you must go and capture this many planets for your welcome back home,
Yeah.
basically. Kind of like the Avatar thing, but not really.
Mm,
You know what? But you know what I mean.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So like that was a little bit better than just because I'm evil.
Yeah.
But like it didn't really it was okay. It wasn't that I thought it was interesting how like for some reason of all the like and then we'll get to this part, but like of all the planets, oh, Earth is the only planet that's like I'm like
Yeah. Hold
uh,
that thought for like 5 minutes.
yeah, like
I
okay.
have I have a lock
We
and
have
load
much to say,
takedown of that
I'm
entire
sure. I
scene.
have a lot to say.
So I just need to talk about that weird spider.
Oh yeah, the like interrogating thing. It looks like the little thing from the Transformer movie, like the first one.
Yeah. Like me and my brother were talking about that. Like everything about Steppenwolf felt very like Michael Bay Transformers-y. Like, the fact that he was like, a gray big CG thing looks almost robotic. Like the robot looked very much so like the scalp.
I don't
I can't remember. Oh, start with a C or SC maybe. I don't remember. It was one that was made just for the Revenge of the Fallen because there was not enough source material to pull from. Different conversation. Anyway,
know.
um, yeah, it seemed just like something out of like literally verbatim the interrogation scene from Transformers 2. Like, Megatron pins down Sam, and Sam's like, I'm not going to tell you. And then a little like bug guy comes out and like ticks around his head, and like projects what he wants up, but like up out of him. And just because he has that spider, why bother interrogating people at all? Like, there's literally a scene later in the movie. Let me see if I can't find it. Shoot. Uh, okay, here we go. Yeah, Steppenwolf interrogating people. It wasn't great in the 2017 one, but it was done a lot better, I think, than because he had the spider, he had no reason to even bother interrogating people. Like, there's literally a line in the movie. Steppenwolf is holding up Silas, and Silas is like, I would rather die. I would die before I tell you. And Steppenwolf says, you will die if you don't. I'm like, yeah,
That's what die.
that's what killing you means.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
And my thing is like, you're this gigantic, super strong dude. Just like, I mean, you don't know how to torture? Like, not to be like mean, but like, it's rated R anyway.
yeah, go for it.
Like, yeah, like
the
before
spider,
Dark Side, right? Like,
the
let's
weird,
get this going.
yeah, the
Like,
weird spider thing. This felt more like a weird plot device, just because he couldn't be creative enough to think of to like to have him interrogate correctly. So he needed this thing to just like to like move the plot along quickly.
yeah, I didn't understand that thing at all. But okay,
Yeah, that
their
was weird.
CGI budget.
Yeah, the CGI in this movie honestly was a lot better than I was expecting, but it was still rough at times.
Yeah, it had its moments,
Yeah,
but yeah,
like
there were
the
some
mother
times where I was like,
boxes sometimes didn't look finished. That goo that Luthor was like standing in at the very beginning when he was looking at the like weird Steppenwolf avatar that the ship was showing him. It looked like the goo was just like pasted over
oh
Luthor.
yeah, I forgot about that.
It really did look like the parademons changed designs a couple of times. I know there are two different versions of parademons, like the like real ones and then the resurrected human ones. But there were a couple of times when parademons looked a little rough, and Darkseid a little bit looked a little like almost framey, like PS2 CG cutscene framey. Like I don't know, it just looked a little
Very
off.
World of Warcrafty kind of like,
Yeah, which
yeah.
like it was impressive, but there like when it was first like panning when he was looking through the boom tube and like panning up him, there was like a little bit of a stutter almost. Maybe my TV was like not HD enough to handle it or something, but like it just didn't look right to me. It looked really good, just not quite to like Thanos level, which is maybe not a fair comparison because of the budget this version of the movie had. But like the CG was a lot better than I was expecting.
Yeah, and it had moments that I could have done a little bit better, but there were a couple where I was like, ooh, but like, yeah, there's some I was like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. And like I've said, the fact that this movie exists at all is praiseworthy. Like, I might not love it, but the fact that it exists at all and, the fanboys do love it, I appreciate that. It shouldn't exist, and the fact that it exists in any state at all, let alone as good as it is, visually, structurally, as good as it is, considering all it went through, that's fine. Like, I think, it should be praiseworthy. And however,
Go ahead.
Darkseid being the one who came to Earth, 100,000 years ago or however long ago, completely ruined the whole overarching plot of this movie. Like, I am not kidding you when I say this movie would have been 1,000 times better if it was just Steppenwolf in the past.
Yeah.
Because that did so much in 2017. That did so much that gave so much reason as to why Steppenwolf is doing what he's doing. Steppenwolf came, however long ago and lost these mother boxes. You can at least imply that is why he got exiled. 2, it kind of makes it feel more of a redemption arc for this character. Like, he lost 100,000 years ago and he's coming back now. And also that's why the mother boxes called to him, because he's the one who lost them, so he can go collect them. And also him losing before, but then coming back theoretically stronger, I feel just kind of thematically, I think,
Power scale sense. A little bit. Yeah. Well, I do have a quick one. Like, I agree with what you're saying, but I thought about this. Like, well, how would he forget what planet it is, though? Because he's just kind of planet hopping and stumble across this one.
He wouldn't forget. That's a major issue with both these, that they just forgot which planet these boxes were on.
Somehow.
I do really like the idea of him only coming back after there's no protectors, after, all the Lanterns are dead. There's, the people are divided. Like, he lost last time because the armies were able to come together, because the old gods and the Green Lanterns and whatnot were gone. Like, because they're gone now, he's able to come back safely. Like, I can kind of imagine a world where it's like, in the meantime, while Earth is, dealing with itself, I'm just gonna kind of go around space, planet hopping, just kind of collecting worlds for Darkseid. Maybe after a point, he'll see it as enough to bring me back. But the end game is getting the boxes.
Okay, I get you.
All of that is completely destroyed by having Darkseid. I don't care that it's technically Uxas or whatever, proto-Darkseid. The movie calls him Darkseid. Wonder Woman says Darkseid came however many years ago. And Darkseid, the Ender of Worlds.
Yeah. And he still, has his like wound or whatever from the 1,000-year ago fight or whatever.
The movie didn't call him Proto-Darkseid. It didn't call him Uxas. It called him Darkseid. So, we have Darkseid, who is clearly just a CG painted over Steppenwolf from the 2017 one. Like, I personally don't really like Darkseid holding a weapon anyway. I know this isn't technically the Darkseid who's fused with the Omega Force yet, so he doesn't have all of his power, blah, 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 blah.
But it's Darkseid.
Darkseid. Plus, they didn't actually show him getting that power up, so, like, it
you wouldn't know, really, unless it was, like...
Yeah. So, him showing up in the past, like, just completely mopping the floor with that Green Lantern, just completely obliterating that Green Lantern, obliterating humans left and right. but then all of a sudden just getting mollywopped by Ares and Zeus together, like it. People try to argue where it's like, oh, Darkseid was only taken down because because the armies came together to fight him. It was both the Atlanteans, Amazons, and humans. No, it was just those two people. It was just Zeus, Ares. I think Artemis maybe or Apollo, whoever shot one arrow at him. That was it. It was just that.
Either way, it shouldn't matter.
No, it shouldn't matter. Like, especially since we saw it was Ares who did the final blow. Ares hit him once with his axe. Darkseid was taken out.
Yeah, got
We
bodied.
know Wonder Woman is stronger than Ares.
Yep.
So why is it so much trouble for Wonder Woman to take out Steppenwolf now? We know that Steppenwolf is weaker than Darkseid. We know that Ares is stronger than at least a proto-Darkseid, and the movie did a terrible job explaining how Darkseid is stronger now than he was back then. Yet we know that Wonder Woman is stronger than Ares, who is stronger than Darkseid, who is stronger than Steppenwolf. So shouldn't Wonder Woman easily destroy Steppenwolf?
Yes.
Like, not to mention, Uxas or whoever, Darkseid didn't even put up a fight against Ares. Like, Ares destroyed his big spear very easily.
Yes. I was so insulted. I was like, I couldn't believe it. Because, like, at first everything was kind of looking interesting. Okay, got their big army. It's like, okay, Darkseid. And then Darkseid gets wrecked. And I was like, they did not just have to cart Darkseid off the field. There is no way. Like, I was like so insulted.
Yeah.
Darkseid should have wrecked everyone.
Like, at least in 2017, Steppenwolf was like taken back because he was starting to like go crazy. They were showing him like losing control, so like the army had to retreat. Like, he was getting beaten, so like the army did a tactical retreat, as opposed to here, it looked like Darkseid died. Like, he like collapsed, and like it didn't say he died, but it looked like he at least passed out from getting one axe wound. Like, come on.
Yeah, and it's like, really, this is Darkseid. I mean, and again, we're supposed to be building this guy up as the big bad. But yeah, like you said, if Ares can, almost take, go for the head, almost take him out pretty much.
Yep.
Single swing. I mean, how really worried about him should we really be? Especially since Steppenwolf had no chance against Superman.
Yeah.
Like,
and
is he really that scary?
Especially since they all won that easily. The Amazons, their gods, defeated Darkseid. Why isn't this battle celebrated more? Why isn't this told as like a children's story to everyone growing up in Themyscira? Why is it just this weird tomb somewhere that's like painting this him as this big danger, when it looked like the fight took like a couple hours and he was gone? Like,
yeah.
Not to mention, it is explicitly stated by Wonder Woman that Darkseid came to Earth, and because he knew the anti-life equation would reveal itself after the Unity happened. So, obviously the Unity didn't happen. Darkseid got beaten and was carted away. Hundreds of thousands of years later, Steppenwolf, like, in what I believe to be the worst scene in the movie, Steppenwolf touches one of the mother boxes, and then it just like gives him a random vision of the anti-life equation in the Earth's crust. Which, by the way, that scene of Steppenwolf like going into the vision, like touching the ground and slamming the ground with his axe, just a mirrored image of Darkseid earlier in the movie. Literally verbatim, like scratching the ground, hitting the ice explosion.
Oh yeah. No, I mean the fingers even look the same. You could see it. Like,
that happened earlier in the movie, and he wanted to just ignore that. And so, like, this, we're supposed to take Darkseid seriously, yet the one thing he is after, the reason why he goes planet to planet terraforming them, which is, by the way, which is like the exact same plot of Man of Steel, wanting to terraform the planet to a different planet, like whatever it's like. The reason he goes planet to planet causing unities to happen on each planet is to try to find the anti-life equation. He found it. He almost caused he almost met his goal, his lifelong goal of getting the anti-life equation, and then just forgot the planet existed. They literally said at one point, Steppenwolf said, "I have discovered your missing planet, the one that has the anti-life equation baked into its crust. I have found it." You found it so long ago. You just forgot? How?
No, and it's just annoying too because like it feels like if I was Darkseid and heard that, if I think so little of Steppenwolf, I'm not gonna leave it up for him to mess up if I couldn't even do it the first time.
He clearly already had a boom tube there anyway. Just go there.
Yeah.
He already knew where it was.
Just show up, bring a couple thousand parademons, be done before dinner. Like, yeah, like I know it's a movie and they're trying to like scale it and everything, but like,
not to mention why did the mother boxes call out to Steppenwolf when it was Darkseid who brought them there in the first place?
Right, that doesn't make any sense.
It seemed like Darkseid didn't even know Steppenwolf was doing this until Desaad told him that Steppenwolf found the anti-life. And then Darkseid showed up and was like, "Oh, you found it. Cool." Like, you how do you just forget a planet you lost 3 mother boxes on, the planet that has the anti-life equation? Like, how do you just forget that? In a powered up state, nonetheless. How have you not gone back there?
And like,
ridiculous.
Yeah. And like you said, that's your whole deal. This isn't like for funsies. That is your anti-life equation is Darkseid's entire deal.
Mm-hmm.
That is his whole thing. And he's just gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it?" Yeah. Like, no, get over that. What are you doing? I don't know.
It's baffling to me. That is another prime example of Zack Snyder having this grand idea of this huge battle between the legions of Apocalypse versus the armies of the world clashing. That just an idea that he had that looked really cool. It was a very cool scene in a vacuum. And if it was Steppenwolf there who got defeated, that would have been actually pretty decent character, like a driving force for the main villain. But instead, you had the villain who the main villain fears got beaten. And if you take it out of the vacuum and shove it into the actual movie, it makes the movie worse just because you put the wrong villain there. It's so dumb.
And it makes no sense. And it kind of, I don't. It's annoying because like it's one of those things that the movie's trying to convince you is like, oh, this is a big deal. It's like, but that doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you? I don't know. And also another thing. So Steppenwolf gets all 3 mother boxes, teleports away, and there's like 40 minutes of movie time before we see him again.
Yes, that's another thing I meant to bring up. Both in the original and this one, it is insane to me that it is stated in this movie Batman has 6 satellites. Cyborg can see everything. Like, he has just the worldwide web just in his head. He can have Google Maps at his whim, and none of them noticed the giant red dome that Steppenwolf was forming to make his base. Silas had to sacrifice himself to superheat the mother box so they can pinpoint it later. They didn't just think,
no sense.
Oh, where are parademons mostly coming from? Is there anywhere that looks different than before Steppenwolf arrived? Like, it would have been so much easier than Silas having to sacrifice himself to make the box noticeable. It doesn't. That annoys me.
I don't get it either. And it's also because he's a giant dome. And then also it's like, okay, so the whole time we're talking about it's like, if he gets all 3 Unity or whatever, make the Unity, world gets enslaved on the spot, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, okay, so what was Steppenwolf doing for the time where they were all bummed out and couldn't find him?
It shows him pretty shortly after putting all 3 boxes together. They start to form, and then they're like, and then it cuts back to the Batcave, and they're like, okay, we need to stop it before the Unity starts. It's like he's already starting it. Like they
That's what I was
started
kind
10
of
minutes ago.
saying.
Like go now.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, what is going on? Like, they should all be like. I was kind of thinking, like, they should all be dead right now.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, okay, Silas must have like sabotaged it or something. Because like that's the only reason they're not all dead. Because
No, they
like
didn't
there's
say
no
that.
way he's just gonna sit on his hands and wait for the good guys to show up before the thing actually works.
They didn't
And
show
yeah,
it.
I don't know. And also, okay. So the thing with Silas, like, I know they established like, oh, if you heat it, it'll be the hottest thing in the world earlier, and like he does that, and that's kind of smart. I'll give them that. But why did he have to be in the chamber when he was heating it?
He did not need to be in the chamber.
It's a remote control. You think it
Yes.
has more than a 5 feet radius? You have to be right next to the thing?
Yeah,
It made no sense
and
to
he
me.
had plenty of time. Like Steppenwolf wasn't even in the room before he closed the door. He could have easily jumped out and pressed the button.
Like he didn't have to be in the like burning hot container with the laser thing. Like I was just kind of like, why is he sad? Like move, like, and he just like that was such an unnecessary death.
And that's a thing that happens in movies all the time where people just die unnecessarily. So it's like it's not something I can specifically complain about in this movie, but like just that's just kind of how movies are made sometimes, and like it's annoying, but like whatever. Like I guess Snyder just really wanted that guy to die for some reason.
Right. Yes. But it's like I don't know. I guess for me, it kind of like just didn't. I don't know. It didn't make any sense. And also, like this is a little before that point, but like, is it just me or like okay? So we know that Steppenwolf is alerted as soon as the mother box are touched, right?
Yes.
Or whatever. So how is it that he shows up at the gravesite as soon as Superman leaves? Like no time before, but as soon as Superman flies away, oh, Steppenwolf shows up here.
Yep.
Like you could have been here 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah, like there was enough time for Silas to figure out what it was, take it, run inside.
Yeah.
That scene was done a lot better than in the 2017 one when like Steppenwolf just boom tube down and got it off screen, which is my absolute favorite scene from that movie where it's just like, oh no, like Superman flew away. Oh no, Darkseid's here. Or sorry, oh Steppenwolf's here. Oh, he got it. Oh, sucks. It's like they didn't even try to stop.
Yeah, but like again, that is an example of being a working smarter, not harder villain. Like you don't need to beat all the people. You just need to show up, get said cube, and beam that away. Like beam up. Like you're done. Like that's all you need.
I did really like the other scientist guy who like is a Atom in the comics. That
I did not know actually until I looked it up. I was like, that name sounds familiar.
Neat. Didn't go anywhere, but it was neat.
Yeah. Well, maybe that'll be a thing later. Probably not when they have a random Atom movie no one asked for, but we'll see.
Sure.
Because we have to have our Ant-Man counterpart.
I will also say when I personally really preferred in 2017 when the Unity got broken apart. Superman flies over and he's like, "So where we? What's going to happen here?" And he's like, "Oh, it's probably gonna." Cyborg's like, "It's probably going to explode. Hopefully we won't die." And Superman's like, "Good, because I kind of like being alive." And it explodes, like a huge explosion happens, and they're both just like lying on the ground, being like, "Oh nope, I'd rather die." Like that was funny. And Cyborg being like, "I don't even know how my toes hurt." That was just a funny character moment between these two people. Superman, reconciling with the fact that he's happy to be alive, and Cyborg having a funny meta joke about him, being a robot. Instead, here, Cyborg starts separating them. Superman comes over and there's like, boop. No impact, no nothing, just boop. No even like shockwave, just they're gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, and that's one of those things that's just kind of like each their own. Like, because again, I'm not thinking it's like, I don't think Superman has to like say anything there, but like, it just kind of feels like
he doesn't. But like because this was like the thing they were trying to stop, if there was some kind of at least like a shockwave or something when they pulled it apart, there could have been some kind of impact there, and it was just
okay, good job.
Yeah, it's over.
Yay. Like, all right, guys. Yeah, that helps. That's a whole thing. But
yeah. And like I said before, I did really appreciate Steppenwolf actually dying in that movie. I love Darkseid just looking down, like crushing his head and like staring menacingly. And then Ray Porter does a fantastic sound. Like he sounds great as Darkseid, but just the way Darkseid is overall handled, because he was the one in the past, it just I think it just kind of lessens the impact of his new arrival. It just doesn't. I don't know.
I will say, like, the stare down between the portal with Darkseid, I was like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Like, he just had that look of, so you've chosen death. Like,
exactly.
kind of just like.
And that's kind of a problem I have with the New 52. Darkseid shows up, and then a small team knocks him out. At least in this movie, it would have been Steppenwolf, a Darkseid lackey who they defeat, and then Darkseid like sees them. That would have been one thing, but because we already know that Darkseid was taken out well before, and we know he is powered up, but the movie didn't show us or tell us how he's powered up, it just didn't do a great job explaining why this Darkseid is scary when we know he can be defeated by someone who can be defeated by one of the team members.
Yeah. No, it's pretty. Yeah, that was pretty. But the one Darkseid thing I did, I don't remember exactly the content. Like, I think it was a nightmare thing or whatever. But like, where he had like the Omega beam underwater, which was like pretty sick, and like, he's like choking out someone and also
that was the like vision that Cyborg had when he interfaced with the.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty sick. I was like, okay, that was sick.
It only existed as sequel bait, but like, but yeah, that was cool.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Cool thing that happened. Context is not great, but whatever.
Yeah, and they showed Wonder Woman just dead somehow. Like, okay. So yeah, let's talk about the nightmare scene.
Yeah.
So this movie, it kind of Return of the Kings a little bit, where it ends like 4 times.
Yeah, we're still going.
Yeah. And one just major issue I had both with this movie and in BVS, the nightmare sequence in both just happens. There's not like a fade to black and then we go, it's just like cut to the apocalypse. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, right before the nightmare scene, Deathstroke and Lex Luthor are talking, and Lex Luthor is like, Batman's real name is Bruce Wayne. And and Deathstroke is like, okay, maybe you do have something for me. Cut to nightmare. The way it is framed, it's almost as if it's what the movie is telling you is that because Deathstroke knows Batman's real name, that causes the apocalypse. Right. Because there's no jump cut, there's no like fade to black, fade back in, there's nothing indicating this is in the future. It just cut to the apocalypse happening. That's how it reads to me, and that's weird.
Yeah, and it's kind of just out of nowhere. It's kind of just out of nowhere. It's just kind of like, all right, like we're at this, I guess, alternate timeline or whatever. But like, I don't know. I didn't like it because like maybe it's gonna like it's sequel there. It'll come to meaning later with some other movie or not. I don't know. Sure it will. But like, yeah, it's just kind of this, and it's like a long scene. It's like we're just kind of in the middle of nowhere. We've got it's a bunch of characters who it's like characters that weren't even in the movie. I mean, Slade had like one line. And then the Joker's just kind of in it.
Oh my goodness, is the Joker in it?
Oh,
I hate that entire scene.
Yeah.
I saw so many people online being like, oh my goodness, this is the best Joker Batman scene in any movie ever. I'm like,
how dare you, first of all.
You not seen The Dark Knight or even Batman 89? There were better scenes than that one. Like the one, like this being the best Joker Batman scene?
No.
Is this the only movie you've seen?
Not even close.
That
recency bias, man.
Yeah. Like because this Batman and this Joker had never interacted, this scene felt like pure exposition. It was like Zack Snyder was like, this is the one chance we have to have Ben Affleck and Jared Leto's Joker talking. So we need to shove everything, every single part of their relationship into the scene.
Yeah.
Joker knowing that his parents died, implying that he killed a Robin, talking about, you won't kill me, I'm your best friend, still not really explaining why he won't kill him. Having to talk about how Harley Quinn died off screen, like just trying to like build on their backstory when it's just feeling like exposition. And because they threw so much at you, I just felt completely drained by the end of that scene. It just felt so long, so unnecessary. Really. Like you had no time for them to like be the Batman and Joker. Instead, they were just like reading the Wikipedia of Batman and Joker.
Yeah, just saying things that this character would say, but without any context.
Yeah.
Something,
And also, like,
God, something.
Joker, offers a truce, and Batman saying he would kill him, and then taking the card, and Joker's like shaking, and he's like, "You almost had me." Like, what does that even mean? Like, is he? I know he wasn't like actually. He was like just like playing him, but like, what? Why would Batman even? Why would Batman accept the truce in the first place? Why would Batman bring Joker along? Because then Slade is like, "Are you sure bringing him along was a good idea?" As if Batman asked him to come along.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just nothing about that. How long had he been sitting on that car? Like, just nothing about the way it was framed made any sense. I think I don't.
No. It was 100% just thrown in there, but
Yeah.
and I like how convenient, even though it has no part of the movie or anything, it's in that trailer to make sure like it gets those clicks because this is gonna be like
the we live in a society scene.
Yeah,
not even in the movie.
Exactly, and if it got into 4 hour, freaking pulled out of your butt. We made time for football movie.
Yep.
Like, not that I'm hating, but like, like this movie had every scene in it, and that didn't even make it in it. It's
like, and also I hate his laugh. I really, really do not like this Joker's
horrible.
laugh. Like, he's just like this kind of weirdly, weirdly cackles, and like he just like after they're done talking, he's just like just like cackling in the background the whole time. It's like it doesn't. And even after Superman shows up, he's still just like weirdly laughing about it. Like it's just weird. It's just weird.
No,
I don't like it.
Terrible. Like his laugh's really bad. Like I had never liked his laugh. I never liked the Joker and just Joker in general. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't. I think people just like the idea of the Joker as a character, so they just forget when it's not done well.
Yeah, I will say his design's a lot better. Not having the tattoos is good.
Yeah,
and like the longer hair, I like more than whatever they're going for in Suicide Squad. But
yeah,
his personality and he was trying to like fuse 6 different Jokers together, and it just ended up just feeling
none of it worked.
Yeah,
at all. Like,
yeah,
that
just like the way he said stuff just made me not feel good. Like I love the Joker, and that just didn't feel like the Joker.
It's not. It's just this made up version that we're supposed to just accept. Like I don't know. And that's kind of just that's like this big nightmare. See, this thing's been so hyped. It's such a big deal. It has no context for pretty much anything. And like maybe in like a Flashpoint movie or something, it'll be a nightmare sequence or something like that. I don't know. Maybe not. So like if that happens, okay. But like I feel like we're making this such a big deal in a situation where it has no context, no nothing.
Yep.
But that's kind of the standard we do here apparently.
So I do want to go over a couple of things that I actually did kind of like about this movie, just to kind of end it off, maybe. Just especially things compared to the 2017 one. Because I know I've done a lot of saying I like stuff about the 2017 one more. I've already said I liked Steppenwolf's axe being just, having the lightning to it. The action just overall generally paced better, generally just looks more impressive. Steppenwolf versus the Amazons just felt better.
Way better.
Steppenwolf versus the Amazons in the 2017 one just like lacked impact at all. The parademons just kind of show up and they just start shooting Amazons. The Amazons don't really react. There is
They don't really do anything.
Yeah, they don't really do anything. There's a lot of just kind of unnecessary action, like with when the Queen's trying to get out of the chamber, she like has to unnecessarily like flip over like the archway and then like come down that one guy and then save that one woman, then like do something else. Just there was a lot of stuff that I think would have been cut from the theatrical version, but like it's fine enough, whatever. The climax is, I think, a lot better. It is a little better pace. I like them fighting more as a team, although, like I said, that's a little bit of a double-edged sword. A little bit. There were fewer, but I think the jokes that were there were generally better. Barry still was annoying, but at least he wasn't as annoying. Steppenwolf's dialogue, or lack thereof, was usually better. He was just a big oaf in 2017. Like he was just everything he said was just so cliche, so boring. But here, he felt way more menacing, just a lot more imposing as a villain. So just there were things about this I did genuinely like. There were things I liked a lot more than the 2017 one, although I still think there were some aspects about the 2017 one that I thought worked a little better overall. And that's just a personal preference. I could totally understand people who are a huge fan of Zack Snyder just hating everything about 2017, each to their own. But I think if there was like an amalgamation of the two, it could actually be pretty decent. But movie we got, just I was not the biggest fan.
Yeah, it had some points that I was like, okay, I like this, this, and that. But then, yeah, like you said, there's some things that I'm like, why is this?
Yeah.
And again, and I think the thing about it being 4 hours and still feeling like there was a lot that wasn't explained is kind of a big problem.
Yeah.
At that point, it's not that you were rushed. It's like you chose to expand on other things.
Yeah. Not to mention just the way it was paced just felt very confusing. Like I said, like, for example, Aquaman having an hour in between him talking to almost at least an hour, at least close to that, talking to Willem Dafoe and then going to help Mara.
Yeah.
Like we kind of if he did have a motivation, we kind of forgot it by then. A lot of stuff with the Amazons felt very disjointed. Like I think, Steppenwolf attacks the Amazons and then it cuts to something else. And then it cuts back to them firing the arrow. And then it cuts, and then, Wonder Woman sees it. And then something else happens. Then she goes to get the arrow. I feel the first half of this movie would have been a lot stronger if essentially they focused on one character at a time.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll do all the Aquaman stuff first, and then we'll do all of the Wonder Woman stuff first. That may have, that maybe would have caused the Steppenwolf showing up in Atlantis being our introduction to the character, but I think either way it would have been fine. But just I went into this movie, I really did want to give it a chance. I really, really did want it to live up to the hype that all the fanboys were hyping up to be. I wanted it to surprise me. I was not disappointed because I got what I expected,
Yeah.
I got the movie that I got the Zack Snyder movie that I knew deep down that I was actually going to get. I was hoping that it would actually surprise me. I was hoping it would actually give me something that I could like really latch onto and really want to rewatch. But there are maybe certain scenes, but overall, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, and it was all right. Like, it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but like there are times where I was disappointed. There were times where I was like, "Oh, we could do that. Oh, let's expand on that," and we'll never touch that again. Awesome.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of like,
like Barry's relationship with Iris, I felt could have been developed a little more in the epilogue, maybe, but there just kind of wasn't. Like, there were so many scenes that were in there that didn't need to be in there. That
honestly, the whole Flash scene could have been. I mean, maybe not the job part because he would already, I guess, but like that could have just been the epilogue.
Yeah.
Like that totally could have just been after.
Uh-huh.
Like it had nothing to the story at the time. So.
Yeah, here's where I'm conflicted about this movie, because me and my brother have like over the past couple of weeks, we've tried to develop a tier list of superhero movies that we've seen. We're basing it more on his opinion. Like these are more so like superhero movies that he has seen, and we're putting them into a tier list. Where A tier is movies that just blew us away. We absolutely adore these movies. You know, Into the Spider-Verse, Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok, you know, stuff like that. B movies, we still really, really like. We just, you know, nothing to like blow us away. We still really like, you know, the first Spider-Man, you know, Iron Man, even like, I don't know, just, you know, movies like that are still really good, but like just not really, you know, nothing to really latch onto. And I wouldn't like rewatch it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
C tier movies are in that kind of like, kind of boring yet inoffensive, you know, stuff like even like Man of Steel, uh, even like even I think like, you know, honestly the first X-Men movie is in that tier, The Amazing Spider-Man, you know, that kind of tier. D tier is where you start having a lot of problems. Just structural problems. The acting is not great. The plot is either clunky or doesn't seem to really flow that well. And that's just kind of the tier of just like, we're not mad, we're just disappointed.
Yeah.
So A, outstanding. B, I like it, but I'm not going to rewatch it anytime soon. C, boring yet inoffensive. Like, it exists. Like, I'm not angry it exists, but like, you know, whatever. Like, I can see people liking it, but I just think it's kind of boring. D tier, you know, stuff like Wonder Woman 84. Even I think I personally put Justice League 2017 in that tier, where it's like I'm not mad, it's just disappointed. Like there were some ideas for what it was. It wasn't, I think, the worst movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
F tier, I'm angry. If there
Like
is something in your
Skywalker
movie
tier.
that makes me angry after watching it, like I personally fluctuate between putting Wonder Woman 84 between D and F. Like I I honestly not sure which tier it goes in. And this isn't like, you know, hard tier. Like any of these movies could fluctuate, but like that's the kind of like the level I'm at with Wonder Woman 84. Like F tier stuff is like X-Men Apocalypse, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Suicide Squad, even BVS. So like that kind of fluctuates. Like though that's the tier that is. Like there is, if I think about you, I am angry that you exist. I I'm sorry. Darkseid being there in the past, Marthan Manhunter, the Joker scene,
Oh, funny.
that alone, I'm sorry, you make me angry. And like, I'm not saying people can't like F tier movies. I adore Amazing Spider-Man 2. I love to hate watch that movie. Same with BVS. I adore these movies, and I could even see people, you know, loving BVS, you know, as a, you know, I don't I question if it's your favorite superhero movie, but like I understand people who do have that very high in their list, like whatever. But for me personally, I think Zack Snyder's Justice League doesn't it does it doesn't do quite enough right to make me want to bump it up to a D tier. I think the plot is just a little too clunky. I think it is a 4-hour movie that didn't need to be 4 hours. But because it is 4 hours, it's even weirder that they didn't develop the plot and didn't develop these characters as much as they should have. Just and yeah, the scenes that make me angry aren't diluted by other stuff enough. Like Endgame, there is some stuff in there that makes me genuinely frustrated, but I think it's like a, you know, B to maybe even A tier movie because there's so much about that movie that I do really really like, and there is so much about that is just, you know, it just impressive to look at, and these characters actually know and enjoy and love to follow. I don't know any of the Justice League members yet aside from Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. Even then I barely know them. Like I can't latch onto any one character enough or any one plot point or element enough to distract me out of F tier. That's just my opinion. Like so it's like a 2 or 3 for me. Like it's not, I can't go any higher than that.
Out of 10?
I think so.
You say 3 out of 10?
Two or three. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Dang. I was that mean. Yeah, I hear but I hear you though, because like it's a lot. First of all, like, and I know I said this earlier, and this is just me late, but like you have a movie this long and a lot of points don't get fleshed out or explained is really annoying. Because it's not that you didn't have the time, you just chose not to. And that bothers me. Because when I'm sitting here, it's like doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, I had the feeling. I was like, well, maybe there's still time. There's still 2.5 hours. Maybe that'll matter later.
Yeah.
It didn't. Like,
and I think something that makes me even more frustrated about this movie is that it does, especially the second half we watched, it does fluctuate wildly between stuff I really like to stuff I hate. Stuff I really like, stuff I hate. Like, the team fighting Steppenwolf together, I really liked. But Superman just showing up and winning, I didn't like. Flash time traveling, I really liked, but how we got there, I didn't like.
Right.
Some of the jokes and character moments before they brought Superman back, I liked, but the contrivances that led to that, and then Silas just kind of dying, and then just them not knowing where Steppenwolf's dome base is, it was just a little too irritating to just jump back and forth. And again, even though the second half of the viewing was shorter than the first one because it was so jarring and there was so much that I didn't like in that second viewing, Martian Manhunter and Joker in the second half, I can't do any higher than 3 right now. I'm sorry.
That's fair. I gave it a solid 5 because I was like, all right. Like I was like, all right, because like again, I think I don't know. It's still early, but I'm like, I like a lot of things better than the first one, but there's also a lot of things that the first one is better about being more concise about, and this one kind of feels all over the place. And it's just kind of Zack's like, oh, I want this in there, I want this in there. It's like, when are we gonna come back? Is this gonna matter? Is this like, and again, it's that classic trick, doing things just to do them. And wasting time. And it's like you're watching a 4-hour movie and you feel like nothing's getting done. And kind of, and until like the last hour of this movie, most of the movie is just kind of stuff you've either seen before or it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
And then the end the end's completely new and everything, and that's fine. And it's good for certain portions of it, but it's like,
oh, also the Atlanteans having to click, hate that. The Atlanteans not being able to talk underwater. It's crazy.
I just don't understand. Yeah, that whole thing and the mirror's air bubbles. I know we talked about that, but it's like, just talk. You're underwater. You're Atlantean. You live there. You can talk. No, like that's stupid. You can just make them talk. At the very least, give them subtitles. Like, come on.
Yeah, just there were so many.
I'm trying to see if anything I went over that I forgot.
Yeah,
but yeah, just like. Yeah, like adding Martian Manhunter for no reason. They did do something. They had the little, like, when Superman first took off with his black suit, they had the little callback to Man of Steel. I thought that was kind of
cool. Then they had more Christ imagery with him, T-posing the sunshine.
Obviously,
wasting time there.
Like, that's a little much, and no one, it's like, okay, or but it's just kind of like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's just like, okay, like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I see, I did some, after I watched this, I looked down to see what other people are saying and like, what did they like? What did they not like? And it's like, I think people are like, oh, I really like this. And I was like, I didn't really like that. I thought that was kind of weird.
I don't know. I obviously, fanboys are adoring this movie. They're calling it better than all 4 Avengers movies combined, which I think is crazy to say that about anything. Saying that a movie is better than 4 movies in a series combined, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, whatever. They're calling scenes that I hate the best scenes in the movie. They're calling scenes I kind of like not great. Like, it
feels like we're watching a different movie.
Yeah, they're saying it being 4 hours is a good thing when, like, no.
No, it's not, because that doesn't matter. Like, a movie shouldn't need to be that long and like not have and still have all these unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Come on now. Like, wrap it up. What do you're just talking. The movie's just talking at you for a lot of the time.
Like I said, I did really want to like it. I know we've been bagging on this movie on Zack Snyder for years now, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Snyder hater. I really did look at this objectively. I did really like look at what I liked, what I didn't like, what made me angry, what I thought could be improved on how I would do it better, just like things. And a lot of these are just basic movie elements of bad pacing, bad plot, just weirdness, was just generally things that just I felt made it a bad movie. So that is my final thoughts.
Yeah. And overall, not great. I think in some ways it's better than the original, but again, I think this movie, if cut down and made more concise,
Yes.
is the best version of the movie.
Yes. Like it is definitely one singular vision, and that almost makes it better. But it, I don't know, like because Zack Snyder felt he needed to use every single inch of film that he filmed, it just ended up feeling a little clunky and didn't need to be 4 hours.
Yeah.
So if you enjoyed it, great. I am happy for you. Watch it every single day or 4 times a day, even if you have the time. I personally don't think I'll be watching it again soon. Maybe a year from now, just to kind of, if I still have HBO Max, just to kind of experience it again. But right now, I'm not planning on rewatching it again anytime soon.
No, it's 4 hours. This is going to be one of those like maybe once a year things. Like
I would be interested in seeing where a sequel to this movie went. Maybe just to kind of if Zack Snyder had full creative control over a sequel to this movie, just seeing where it went. But don't make that movie 4 hours. I don't know. I see potential going forward with a Zack Snyder's universe, but I personally wouldn't tell Justice. I wouldn't tell Warner Brothers to only do Zack Snyder movies. I think stay the course with Black Adam.
And I think I've heard that he's kind of moving on from DC, which, if it is true, personally, I'm very thankful because
yeah,
not my cup of tea. But each their own.
Yeah. So yeah, any final thoughts before we wrap up? No.
Just okay. It's on. We're done. I feel bad because now we can't talk. I mean, we can talk about it. I'm looking forward to how we continue to talk about it later.
Yeah.
Because it's still kind of relatively fresh, so it's kind of I'm looking forward to as things progress, as it ages, we kind of be like, oh yeah, that. Now that I think about it, maybe that wasn't so bad. Or now that I think about it, that didn't make any sense either.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm going at a 3 right now, because when I left BVS, I had a 6 or 7, but that dropped very fast. I'm very bad about rating stuff too high and then going down. So I'm going to go ahead and measure my opinion. It could go up later. Doubt it. But I'm just going to go ahead and say.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I gave it I was like, oh, maybe the ending was kind of strong. So I was like, okay, well, not the very ending, but the ending of the actual plot.
Yeah.
Where it should have ended was okay, maybe a 5.5, maybe 6. I was like, no, let me go 5. Because usually right after a movie, I give it a little more than it should. So I was like, let me go 5 and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, maybe, some video essay later down the line will change my opinion. Maybe, like I said, if you enjoy this movie, more power to you. I am happy for you. Just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. Anything else?
We did it.
We did it. We talked about the movie that shouldn't exist.
We did it. I don't know how it got here. Bullying studios does work.
Apparently.
That's the lesson here.
Yep. You got your movie. Enjoy it.
If it can happen with this, it can happen with anything, apparently. So.
Okay. So with that, we'll see you all next time.
Take care, everybody.